The docking clamp detached from the hull of the Stardust runner with a sound like a dying radiator. Ethan Cross sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the manifest on his console screen. It claimed he was hauling 3 tons of hydroponic air filters to the terraforming colonies on Vexia Prime. It was a boring job. It was a safe job. It was the kind of job that paid just enough to keep the fuel cells charged and the synthetic coffee flowing. Then the proximity alarm screamed. Ethan did not even have time to spill his drink. A heavy cruiser bearing the sigil of the Galactic Trade Authority dropped out of slipstream less than 5,000 kilometers off his port bow. It was too close for standard protocol. It was an intercept. He keyed the comms. "This is the Stardust runner. Independent hauler code 79 Alpha. You are drifting into my lane." The response was immediate and devoid of static. "This is Authority Cruiser Iron Will. Power down your engines and prepare for immediate inspection. Captain Cross. We have a credible tip regarding contraband." Ethan frowned. He had inspected the cargo himself. He manually sealed the crates. He unbuckled his harness and floated toward the airlock. Assuming this was just another shakedown for a bribe, he was wrong. The boarding party did not ask for credits. They did not check his logs. 6 officers in pristine white armor marched straight to the cargo hold, bypassed the first 4 rows of crates, and opened a nondescript container labeled filtration units. Inside, nestled between layers of shock foam, was a device that looked like a pulsating obsidian heart, veined with blue light. It hummed with a frequency that made Ethan's teeth ache. "Xenotech," the lead officer said, his voice amplified by a helmet speaker. "Class 4 restricted weaponry." "That is not mine," Ethan said, his voice flat. "I loaded that crate. It was empty when I sealed it." The officer did not look at him. He looked at the device. "Take him." The arrest was sterile. There was no violence, no shouting. Just the cold click of magnetic cuffs and the sudden realization that his life as a free man had ended 10 minutes ago without him knowing it. The tribunal took place on Station Omega 9, a spinning wheel of bureaucracy orbiting a gas giant. The courtroom smelled of ozone and recycled lavender, a sickly sweet attempt to mask the scent of fear. Ethan stood in a circle of light. The prosecutor was a man named Valerius, who wore a suit that cost more than Ethan's ship and possessed a smile that never reached his eyes. "The defendant claims ignorance," Valerius said, addressing the panel of 3 judges. "A common defense. Yet the energy signature of the device was masking the ship's own drive signature. He was running stealth. Your Honors." "That is a lie," Ethan said. He looked at his appointed defense attorney, a sweating man who had spent the last hour playing with a stylus. "Object. Tell them the sensor logs show I was broadcasting full identification." The attorney cleared his throat but did not stand. "The logs were corrupted during the seizure. Mr. Cross, we have to rely on the authorities' scans." Ethan looked at the center judge. She was reading a data pad, scrolling through text with a rhythmic flick of her finger. She had not looked at him once since the session began. "I demand a forensic audit of the cargo loading bay on Ceres," Ethan said, his voice echoing in the large chamber. "Check the camera feeds. You will see I did not load that device." The judge finally looked up. Her eyes were gray and tired. "Evidence sealing protocols have been enacted for diplomatic stability. Mr. Cross. The nature of the device requires total information containment. We cannot risk exposing the method of its manufacture by reviewing unsecured port footage." "Diplomatic stability?" Ethan laughed, a harsh sound. "You mean you are burying the truth?" The verdict was delivered 7 minutes later. Guilty of trafficking Class 4 contraband. Guilty of reckless endangerment of galactic peace. Ethan Cross, the judge said, looking back at her screen. You are hereby sentenced to 20 years of rehabilitation at Kestrel Vault. The name caused a ripple of whispers in the gallery. Kestrel Vault. It was not a labor camp on a mining moon. It was not a hole in the ground. It was a private facility, run by the Sovereign Rehabilitation Corp, marketed in every brochure as the pinnacle of humane diplomacy.
What's up, twin?
It was where the council sent people they wanted to forget,
You can hear me, right?
but could not afford to execute. The transport ship to Kestrel Vault had no windows. The gravity generators were set to a comfortable 1.0 Earth standard, and soft classical music played in the holding bay. It felt less like a prison transport and more like a shuttle to a budget resort. Ethan sat strapped into a plush seat, his wrists secured by a band of light that stung if he moved too quickly. He watched the other prisoners. A Talarian mercenary with 4 eyes who sat weeping silently. A cyber hacker who kept twitching her fingers as if typing on an invisible keyboard. When they docked, the airlock cycled with a musical chime.
My bad.
"Welcome to Kestrel Vault," a recorded voice said. "Peace is a choice. Make it today." Ethan was marched down a corridor that was aggressively white. The walls were smooth, seamless panels of impact-resistant polymer. The lighting was diffuse, eliminating all shadows. It was disorienting. There was no grit, no grime, nothing for the eye to latch onto. The guards wore uniforms of soft gray, not military black. They did not carry stun batons, they carried neural pacifiers on their belts. They did not shout. "Please step this way, sir," a guard said to Ethan. He was a young human male with a generic, pleasant face. "Watch your step on the transition threshold." Ethan stared at him. "I am a prisoner. You do not have to call me sir. We believe in maintaining dignity," the guard said, smiling. His eyes were dead. "Please, right this way." The processing center was a blur of medical scans and biometric tagging. They took his clothes, his grandfather's watch, and the small metal token he kept in his pocket for luck. In return, they gave him a gray jumpsuit made of a smart fabric that regulated temperature and monitored his heart rate.
I have ice cream. So
Ethan stood before the assignment officer,
have you seen the viral?
a woman who tapped on a holographic
fruit ice cream where
interface.
it's like peaches, it's shaped like a
Cross.
peach. It looks like a peach.
"Ethan,"
Um,
she said, "you have been flagged for the high-risk integration
there's
wing."
grape, there's strawberry.
"High risk?" Ethan asked. "I hauled air filters." The officer ignored him. "Due to overcrowding in the standard blocks and your specific psychological profile, you have been selected for the Interspecies Compatibility Program." Ethan blinked. "What is that?" "It means you get a roommate," she said, finally looking at him. "Do not worry. Compatibility algorithms ensure a 99% reduction in violent conflict. You are very lucky. Isolation cells are lonely." She tapped a final key. "Section 4, Cell Alpha 9. Enjoy your stay." The walk to the isolation wing took 20 minutes. The gravity shifted subtly as they moved deeper into the station, feeling lighter, then heavier. The prison was spinning, a centrifuge of steel and silence hanging in the void. Ethan noticed the cameras immediately. They were not bulky lenses mounted in corners.
Let me show you them.
They were halos of light embedded in the ceiling, tracking every micro movement.
Why is
"You are going to
everyone
like
their
Alpha
mom
9,
getting pregnant?
the escorting guard said. "Quiet sector. Good view of the nebula if the shutters are up." Ethan did not answer.
Anyways,
He was busy memorizing the layout. Keycard access at the bulkheads, iris scanners at the lift, 2 guards per checkpoint. They stopped in front of a heavy blast door. There was no barred window, only a solid slab of metal. The guard pressed his palm against the reader. The light turned green. "Your cellmate is already settled," the guard said. "Try to be polite. First impressions matter." The door hissed and spiraled open like the aperture of a camera. Ethan stepped inside, his fists clenched, expecting a hulking brute, a gang enforcer, or perhaps a frantic addict.
Posted there.
The door
Nerd,
sealed behind him
hello.
with a heavy thud of magnetic locks.
It's baby making
Ethan looked
season?
up and
That's
froze.
Disgusting.
The cell was large, clean, and
No,
terrifyingly sterile.
No, thank you.
On the far
Ooh,
side,
it's higher.
standing by the viewport that looked out into the bruised purple darkness of space,
Okay,
was
let's
a
go get the
woman.
ice creams.
She was tall,
Give me 1 second.
perhaps a head taller than him. Her skin was the color of moonlight on snow, pale and iridescent. Her hair was a cascading waterfall of silver strands that seemed to move of their own accord, defying the recycled air of the room. She wore the standard gray prison jumpsuit, but on her, it looked like tailored silk. She turned to face him. Her eyes were large, entirely black, containing swirling constellations of gold flecks. Her face was angular, regal, and composed of a beauty that was almost painful to look at. She did not look like a prisoner.
Okay, guys.
She looked like a monarch who had simply decided to inspect the accommodations. Ethan stared at her. He looked at the single toilet unit in the corner. He looked at the 2 sleeping platforms on opposite walls. He looked back at
I'm gonna
her.
keep the ears or the
The
regular-
absurdity of it hit him like a physical blow. He felt the words bubble up in his throat, bypassing his filter entirely. I shared a cell with an alien
We
woman.
got
What happened broke every galactic law.
option number 1.
He blurted out to the empty air, his voice cracking with disbelief. The woman tilted her head.
Okay.
The movement was fluid, like water flowing over a
I
stone.
just took off my other nails.
She
so they
raised a
look
hand,
beat up.
her fingers long and elegant, and tapped the small silver disc embedded in her collarbone, the universal translator unit
Grape?
all
Okay, I'm
prisoners
not
were
gonna lie,
fitted
I've
with.
tried this grape one already. I'm not gonna
She
lie to you
spoke.
guys.
The sound was melodic, a complex series of hums and clicks. But the mechanical voice of the translator overlaid it with a flat, synthetic feminine tone.
Yep.
That is a very specific regulation you are citing,
I
she
don't know
said.
which one to try first.
Though I believe the law you are referring to is the Interspecies Segregation Act of 2490. And technically,
You want to try the lemon,
since this
but
facility is privately owned by a shell corporation
peach?
registered in the Outer Rim,
down for the peach too.
they are only breaking the spirit of the law, not the letter.
Cool.
Ethan blinked. You speak common? I speak 300 dialects, she said. The translator handles the rest, though it strips away all the nuance.
Look at this.
It makes me sound like a navigational computer. She took a step toward him. Ethan instinctively stepped back,
Okay.
his back hitting the cold metal of the door. She stopped, a faint smile playing on her violet lips. I am Salith.
Spiral, hello.
Ethan swallowed.
Okay, hold on, let me
Ethan,
go put this
Ethan
back on.
Cross.
We are trying. Okay, look.
Salith. It sounded like wind chimes in a storm. Well, Ethan Cross, she said, gesturing to the small room with a sweeping motion that belonged in a throne room, not a cage. Welcome to the suite. I have
Right now,
claimed the
I'm
left
trying to
sleeping
keep one
platform as it is slightly further from the sanitation unit. I trust this is acceptable?
It actually does taste like
Ethan
the
looked
fruit,
at the
yes.
platform.
So I had
It
the
was a
grape
slab
one
of
that
metal
tastes
with a
like
thin
grape. I've had
mattress.
a mango one before.
It doesn't matter, he said. I won't be sleeping
Okay,
much.
so let me go put these back.
Oh? She asked,
Give me 1 second.
one eyebrow arching. Do you snore? Because if you produce sonic vibrations during the sleep cycle, we are going to have a diplomatic incident. Ethan frowned. No. I mean, I'm going to be too busy figuring out how to get out of here. Salith laughed. It was a dry, rasping sound that the translator failed to sanitize. It sounded mocking. Escape, she said. How novel. I suppose you also plan to
I
punch a
wanted
guard and steal a
to-
shuttle?
okay. I've
Or
tried the
perhaps
grape one
hack the
before.
mainframe with a
Like I said,
spoon?
and then I've tried the
Ethan bristled. I was a
mango one
pilot.
before.
I know systems. And they know you, she said, her voice dropping an octave. Look up. Ethan Cross.
They're actually
He looked
pretty
up.
good, I'm not gonna lie.
The
Like,
ceiling
I
was a
don't
smooth
feel
dome of white.
like they're
Not with your eyes, she said.
overhyped, 'cause I
With your
actually,
awareness.
At least the 2 that I've had.
She pointed a slender finger at the center of the ceiling. There, and there, and in the corner.
So we're opening the
Ethan squinted. He saw the faint shimmer of lenses behind the panels. Micro-optics, she said. Thermal, audio, biometric. There are no blind spots.
I'm just gonna.
They monitor
You're
your
not opening
pulse,
this
your
fancy, I don't think
respiration, even the dilation of your
Sorry, no, it's
pupils.
ASMR.
If you spike your adrenaline to fight or flight levels, the room will flood with suppression gas before you can clench a fist. Ethan looked around the room, suddenly feeling very exposed.
So now there's
Even
a
the
store,
toilet?
down the street from my house
Especially the toilet, she said.
that has them. So
They call it health monitoring.
okay.
I call it perversion.
I'm scared.
She walked back to the window, turning her back to him.
Okay.
It was a dismissal. Ethan
So
dropped
this
his
is what
kit
it
bag on the
looks like.
right-hand sleeping
Fishing
platform.
it out, hold on.
He sat down, the mattress hissing as it adjusted to his weight. He watched her. She moved with a grace that made him feel clumsy and heavy. So, he said,
I'm gonna try it.
trying to regain some footing. What are you in for? You don't look like a pirate. Salith turned her head slightly,
Holy shit.
just enough to see him with one eye. I am here because I exist inconveniently. That's not a crime, Ethan said. In the eyes of the council, she said, inconvenience is the only capital crime. She turned fully around then, studying him. She made a gesture, bringing her thumb and forefinger together in a circle and placing it over her heart.
Or peach, I don't know.
Ethan stared. What does that mean? Salith frowned. In my culture, it is a greeting of neutrality.
Okay, guess the
It
price.
means I offer no threat. Ethan let out a short breath. On
First of
Earth,
all,
specifically in the old district of Napoli where
Not
my
really.
grandmother lived, that gesture means something very different. Oh? It implies you think the other person is
you know what's
perfect,
crazy.
like a ripe fruit.
The
It's a
first time,
flirtation.
It kind of.
The translator buzzed for a second.
No,
Salith's eyes widened
basically.
slightly. Ah, she said. Then I withdraw the gesture. I assure you, Ethan Cross, I do not find you to be a ripe fruit. You look more like a root vegetable. Durable, perhaps, but covered in dirt. Ethan laughed. It was the first time he had laughed in days. Thanks. I think. Salith's expression remained neutral, but the air in the room seemed to thaw by a fraction of a degree. Tell me, Ethan Cross,
Really good.
she said, leaning against the viewport.
Okay.
In human culture, what are the protocols for proximity? Protocols? Space, she said. If I stand here and you stand there, is that acceptable? Or will you interpret my presence as an invitation to aggression or fruit-based admiration?
Oh, the
Ethan
price,
shook
I'm
his
sorry.
head.
So.
I respect personal space.
Fucking God, bro.
You stay on your side.
When
I
first
stay on
bought
mine.
it, the very
Good,
first time I tried
she
the
said.
mango one,
Consent is a variable
Hey.
concept in this sector. It is
$8.99
refreshing to hear a
was-
human prioritize it.
$8.99 or
She
$9.99?
paused,
No,
her
$8.99.
gaze drilling into him.
This
You
time
are
I went,
afraid.
they're $6.99.
I am angry,
So they lowered the
Ethan
prices.
corrected. You are afraid, she repeated calmly.
But
Your pheromones are sharp.
For
It smells
one.
like burning copper. Ethan stood up. I was framed. I lost my ship. I lost my
yeah,
life.
not too bad.
Yeah, I'm a little stressed.
$8.99 is kind of
Salith watched him. Anger is useful. Fear is a liability.
Okay.
Do not let the guards smell the
So,
copper.
while I eat this,
Before Ethan could respond,
we're
the
gonna
lights
eat
in the cell
here,
dimmed. A soft
Okay.
chime sounded from the walls.
and we're just gonna.
Night cycle
I don't
initiated.
think you guys want
The
to see
computer
what
voice
we're
announced,
eating this, to be
Containment
honest.
field activating. Ethan felt it instantly. It started as a pressure in his ears, like descending too fast in an elevator. Then the air in the room grew thick, charged with static electricity. The hairs on his arms stood up. What is that? He asked, rubbing his temples. Salith had moved to her sleeping platform. She sat in a meditative pose, her legs folded beneath her.
I'm sure you already know that.
The containment field, she said softly.
Let's go say hi to
It is
everyone
designed to
on my
dampen
list.
kinetic energy. It makes it hard to move fast. It also...
Let's start with.
She hesitated. It also what? Ethan asked. It creates a resonance, she said, between biological nervous
I'll start
systems.
with Chris.
It is supposed to keep us docile. Sleep. Ethan Cross. Fighting it only makes the headache
no.
worse. Ethan lay down on his bunk. The pressure in his head was a dull throb.
Literally.
He closed his
this is what I
eyes,
do.
determined to stay awake, to watch her, to figure out an
I
angle.
just go say hi to everyone.
But the field was heavy. It pressed him down into the darkness. The sky was violet. Ethan was not Ethan. He was standing on a balcony made of spun glass, overlooking a city that defied gravity. Spires of white stone floated in the air, connected by bridges of light. The air smelled of ozone and crushed flowers. He felt a profound, crushing sadness. It was not his sadness. It was a grief so old and deep it felt like it could crack his ribs. Below him, the city was burning. Ships, black triangles, were descending from the clouds, raining fire onto the spires. He saw banners falling. He saw a garden turning to ash. He tried to scream, to order the guards to the perimeter, but he had no voice. He looked at his hands. They were pale, iridescent, with long, elegant fingers. He felt a name forming in his mind, a cry for help to someone who was not there.
Sorry.
Then the fire reached the balcony. Ethan woke up gasping. He sat bolt upright, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. The cell was dimly lit by the ambient strip lighting along the floor. He looked across the room. Salith was sitting on the edge of her bunk. She was gripping the edge of the mattress so hard her knuckles were white. Her breathing was shallow and rapid. She looked at him. For a second, just a split second, her mask was gone. Her eyes were wide, filled with the same terror he had just felt in the dream.
After watching Streamer Awards,
The grief,
I'm a little traumatized.
the burning
so I don't
city.
know if I want to watch this.
Ethan rubbed his face, his hands shaking. I had a nightmare. Salith took a breath. She smoothed her jumpsuit. She composed her face, the regal mask sliding back into place. Prison is a stressful environment, she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were still trembling.
Branch.
It induces bad dreams.
Branch is so nice, guys.
That wasn't a prison dream,
He's so
Ethan
nice.
whispered. I saw a city, floating towers, violet sky. Salith stood up and walked to the water dispenser. She turned her back to him.
Hello.
A
Monty,
common
hello.
archetype, she said,
I just
the
looked up
destruction of
masks
sanctuary.
after.
Psychologists say it
Yeah, I don't know
represents
if
the
I'm feeling
loss of the
watching this.
womb. It felt real, Ethan said.
Okay.
It felt like yours. Salith
Oh,
took a
there.
drink of water. She did not turn around. You have an active imagination, Ethan Cross. Go back to sleep. She was lying. He could feel it, not just suspect it. He could feel her evasion like
Oh
a
my God.
physical texture in the
Almost
air.
dropped it.
The containment field buzzed, a low-frequency hum that seemed to bridge the gap between them. Ethan did not sleep again. He lay awake, watching the curve of her spine as she feigned sleep, wondering what kind of hell she had brought into the cell with her. Morning came with a harsh brightening of the lights and a sonic tone that made Ethan's teeth rattle. Cycle starts now. The computer announced, hygiene period 15 minutes. Ethan sat up,
I'm literally
groggy
on
and
your
aching.
stream.
Salith was already awake, performing a series of slow, fluid stretches that looked like a martial art performed underwater. Ethan went to the wash basin. He splashed cold water on his face. As he reached for the towel, his hand brushed against a panel on the wall, just below the mirror. It was loose.
143.
He glanced at the camera in the ceiling. Salith was moving in the center of the room, blocking the camera's direct line of sight to the sink, perhaps intentionally.
I'm just
perhaps
saying hi to
not.
everyone right now.
Ethan pried the
been
panel
playing
back with his
Fortnite for a little bit.
fingernail,
But I
scratched
just
into the
ate.
metal of the bulkhead. In crude, jagged letters
Guys, I just
were 3
ate.
words. The cell listens. Ethan stared at it. It was not a warning about microphones. It felt more specific and more biological. He slid the panel back into place as the
That's what I have
door
right
hissed
now.
open. A guard stepped in, followed by a service drone carrying 2 trays of
Can you
nutrient
guys hear
paste.
this?
It was the same guard from
You guys
yesterday,
can't even hear
The one with the
Oh
dead
my
eyes.
God. Why did
Breakfast,
no one tell me?
the guard said.
That's crazy.
Eat quickly. Inspection in 1
This
hour.
whole time you guys did not tell
The
me
drone
to hear this
deposited
dream.
the trays. The guard looked at Ethan. Then his gaze shifted to Salith. She was standing by the window, her posture rigid,
crazy,
her
guys.
chin high. The guard stiffened. For a moment,
Y'all are fake
his
for that.
customer service mask slipped. He straightened his back, snapping his heels together
All right.
instinctively. "You're
Say
high."
hi to
He
Moon.
cut himself off. The silence that followed was sharp as a knife. The guard cleared his throat, his face
ad?
flushing slightly.
God damn it.
He looked at his data pad, seemingly terrified. "Inmate Salith,"
You
he
can hear the
corrected,
music.
his voice strained. "Rations are served." He turned and exited the cell quickly, the door sealing with a heavy thud. Ethan looked at the door. Then he looked at Salith. "Your Highness?" Ethan asked quietly. Salith picked up her
Okay, I
tray.
like the peach one.
She looked at the gray sludge with disdain. "A slip of the tongue," she said. "He merely confused
The
me with
vibes
someone
were
who
good. Oh,
matters."
the music.
She sat down and began to eat, her movements precise and mechanical.
Do you guys want me to put
But
the music
Ethan
back up?
saw it. He saw the way she held the spoon like it was a scepter. And he remembered the dream, the burning palace, the violet sky. He wasn't just in a cell with an alien woman. He was in a cell with a target. And if the cell was listening, it had just heard enough to get them both killed. "Eat your paste, Ethan Cross," Salith said without looking up. "It is going to be a long day." The silence in the cell was not empty. It was heavy, textured with the hum of the air recyclers and the unspoken accusation hanging between them. Ethan sat on the edge of his bunk, his hands clasped between his knees, watching Salith. She was pacing. Her movement was a rhythmic, hypnotic circuit from the viewport to the blast door and back again. A predator confined to a box that was 3 strides too small. "You are doing it again," Ethan said. Salith stopped mid-stride. Her back was to him, her silver hair shimmering under the harsh
I don't know.
fluorescent
How do you guys
lights.
feel about
"Doing what?"
the Lego games?
"Projecting,"
Do you guys
Ethan
like
said.
them,
"I can feel it.
or-
It feels like static,
Eh.
like walking on a carpet in dry socks and waiting for the spark."
Hmm.
"You are anxious." Salith turned slowly. Her face was composed, a mask of porcelain cool, but her eyes, those
Oh,
dark,
it did
galaxy-filled
get delayed.
voids, were tight at the corners.
It did get delayed.
The containment field has side effects: Ethan Cross, vertigo, nausea, paranoia. Do not mistake a
Silent Hill
physiological
and
reaction to magnetic confinement for insight into my
Battlefield
psyche.
6? Fuck
Ethan
Battlefield.
stood up.
I have that game.
He walked to the center of the room, stopping just outside the invisible
Oh,
boundary she had established as her personal territory. "It was not the field," he said quietly. "Last night, the dream.
It's Kai Cenat.
Violet sky, burning towers.
No, it's Kai. No, it's
I felt
Kai.
the heat on my face.
What?
Salith, I felt the grief in your chest
Yeah,
like it
that's
was a
crazy.
cracked rib. That wasn't a side effect. That was a memory." Salith looked
I haven't
away,
played one
her
since
gaze fixing
Dark.
on the blank gray
They were
wall.
fun, right? But I feel like
"Memories
as a
are
kid-
private. In my
I don't
culture,
think
the
I
mind
tried
is
that
a
one.
sanctuary. To enter it without invitation is an act of war." "I didn't break in," Ethan countered. "The door was wide open. This room, this field, it
That's
pushed
true.
me in." He took a step closer. The air between them seemed to thicken, buzzing with a frequency that made his teeth ache. "Admit it," he said.
Yep.
"They are messing with our heads." Literally. Salith let out a breath, a sharp hiss of
That's
air.
crazy.
She closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them, the regal defiance had cracked just enough to reveal a profound, exhaustion-fueled fear. "It is called empathic resonance," she said, her voice low. The translator on her collarbone chirped,
All right, guys. should we play
struggling to
Fortnite
convey
now?
the nuances of the alien term she used. "Among my people, the Alari, it is a biological
Low-key, like, I think
imperative.
it's cool that people
We do
are,
not
like,
speak
streaming
truth.
this.
We show it.
Honestly, like a
When
lot
2
people
of
are
us
streaming
bond, the barriers of self dissolve. We share intent. We share sensation. It is how we govern, how we love, how we ensure no lie can survive between
Well, that
us.
game's not even really. Yeah.
Ethan stared at her. So, you are reading my mind? No, she said,
You
looking
wanna play a
repulsed
game?
by the
Okay,
idea.
okay. Let's play it.
Telepathy is a crude fiction. Resonance is emotional harmonics. I do not hear your thoughts.
As Chris
Ethan,
is playing it.
I feel the shape of them.
This game's not even
I
out
feel your
yet.
confusion like a fog. I feel your suspicion like a cold
Oh
draft.
shit.
And right now, I feel your curiosity. It itches. She wrapped her arms around herself, rubbing her shoulders as if she were cold. But resonance requires consent, she continued. It requires a ritual of opening. This field, this prison, it is forcing the frequency. It is taking two incompatible instruments and smashing them together until they play the same note. It is not just illegal, Ethan. It is a violation of the soul. Ethan ran a hand through his short, messy hair. He paced away from her, processing this. Great. So we aren't just roommates.
Okay.
We are non-consensual soulmates. Salith grimaced. Please do not use that word. The implication is nauseating. Ethan tried to laugh, but it came out jagged. Look, I'm just trying to understand the rules here. If I stub my toe, do you feel it? If the resonance spikes, yes, she said. If you are embarrassed, I will flush. If you are angry, my heart rate will accelerate. We are being wired into a single circuit.
What?
Ethan leaned against the metal sink unit. Well, that explains why I felt the urge to strangle the guard this morning. I'm usually a pacifist. That was you. Salith's expression darkened. He addressed me as... He used a title that does not belong here. It was dangerous. Rage is a natural response to a threat. Ethan watched her carefully. A title. Your Highness. She stiffened. Do not. Ethan held up his hands. Okay, fine. No titles. Just Salith. Just Ethan. But if we are stuck in this blender together, we need to know how it works. We need to test it. Salith looked at him warily. Test it how? Ethan pointed to the floor between them. Walk toward me. Let's see the range. Salith hesitated, then nodded once, a sharp, decisive movement. She stepped forward. The distance between them closed to 2 meters. The hum in the air grew louder, a mosquito whine at the edge of hearing. 1 meter. Ethan felt a sudden wave of coolness wash over him, her calm, forced but present. It was like stepping into an air-conditioned room on a hot day. Stop, he said. They stood chest to chest, separated by inches. Ethan looked down at her, up close. Her eyes were not just black, they were layered with iridescent structures, like the compound lens of a telescope. Say something, Ethan whispered. Salith looked up at him. Her lips moved, forming words in her native tongue, soft, clicking, melodic sounds that usually resulted in the flat, robotic voice of the translator. But this time, the translator did not activate. I am afraid the walls will eat us, she said. Ethan heard the alien words, but his brain did not parse them as sounds. He parsed them as pure meaning. The concept bloomed in his mind instantly, bypassing language entirely. He understood the specific shade of her fear, not a fear of death, but of erasure, of disappearing into the gray. Ethan's eyes widened. I understood that. You didn't use common? Salith's breath hitched. She reached out, her hand hovering over his arm. May I? Ethan nodded. She touched his forearm. The sensation was electric. It wasn't a spark. It was a flood. The room fell away. For a split second, Ethan was not standing in a prison cell. He was standing on a cliff edge, looking out at a sea of stars, feeling a crushing weight of responsibility that was not his own. He felt the texture of velvet robes, the the cold weight of a crown, the suffocating isolation of being worshipped but never known. He gasped and pulled his arm back. The connection snapped. The cell rushed back in. The smell of ozone, the white light, the hum. Ethan staggered back, gripping the edge of the bunk. Whoa! Salith was breathing hard. Her hand clutched to her chest. You taste like engine grease and regret, she whispered. Ethan laughed, a breathless, shaky sound. Regret? I thought I tasted like mint. I used the mouthwash. Salith did not smile. This is worse than I thought. The field is not just broadcasting emotion. It is dissolving boundaries. If we stay in here too long, Ethan, I will not know where I end and you begin. Before Ethan could answer,
Oh God.
the door chime rang, a pleasant major key tone that sounded entirely out of place in a high-security isolation wing. The door slid open. A man stepped in. He was human, short, with a round, soft face and a smile that looked like it had been practiced in a mirror. He wore a medical white coat over his gray uniform, and he carried a data pad as if it were a shield. Good morning. Residents, the man said. His voice was oily. I am Officer Krell. I'm your assigned wellness coordinator. Ethan straightened up, instinctively stepping in front of Salith. Wellness coordinator? Is that a fancy word for warden? Krell chuckled, a wet sound. Oh, no. Kestrel Vault is a progressive institution. We prioritize mental health. I'm here for your integration therapy. He walked into the room, his eyes darting around, lingering on the bedsheets, the sink, the distance between Ethan and Salith. Please, sit, Krell said, gesturing to the bunks. Ethan sat. Salith remained standing, her posture rigid. Krell looked at her. Please, number 79 Beta. Relax. Tension inhibits progress.
Okay.
I prefer standing, Salith said. Her voice was ice. And I prefer my name. Krell's smile tightened at the edges. Of course, Salith. Now, how are we finding the adjustment period? Any dizziness, nausea, vivid dreams? Ethan exchanged a glance with Salith. The question was too specific. I slept like a baby. Ethan lied. Krell tapped on his data pad. Interesting. Your biometric data suggests a cortisol spike at 0300 hours and a corresponding spike in your cellmate. Synchronized. He looked up, his eyes gleaming with clinical curiosity.
Yeah, I remember.
Did you interact during the night? We were sleeping, Ethan said. Krell took a step closer to Salith. And you? Salith? How does the proximity feel? Do you find yourself agitated or perhaps strangely comforted? Salith looked at the little man with an expression that could have withered a plant. I find your questions invasive, she said.
That quick is crazy.
Is this therapy, Officer Krell, or is it a survey? It is standard protocol, Krell said, his voice hardening slightly. We need to ensure the compatibility algorithm is functioning. We wouldn't want you to hurt each other. He reached out, as if to touch Salith's shoulder.
That one?
Don't, Ethan said. The word came out sharp, a command. Krell stopped. He looked at Ethan. She doesn't like to be touched, Ethan said. It's a cultural thing. You should know that.
Take care of what?
It's in her file, right? Krell lowered his hand slowly. He tapped the data pad again.
Crazy.
Protective instincts activating early. Fascinating. He looked between them, nodding to himself. Very well. We will adjust the field frequency slightly to smooth out the rough edges. I will return tomorrow. Try to be open with each other. Secrets cause stress.
I'm gonna do a solo.
He turned and walked out. The door sealed.
Just wait, but
Ethan waited 5 seconds, then turned to Salith. That wasn't a doctor. No, Salith
where are
said.
you going?
She was shaking again, a fine tremor in her hands. He was a technician checking his instruments.
Wait.
We are the instruments.
Hello? Okay.
Ethan sat back on the bunk, staring at the door. He asked about the dreams. They know the field causes them. They want to know if we are sinking. They are collecting data, Salith said. She sat down on her own bunk, pulling her knees to her chest.
Stop.
They want to see if a human and an Alari can be forced into a bond. Why? Ethan asked. Why us? Why me? I'm a cargo hauler. You are, well, you are you, because we are opposites,
All right, guys,
Salith said softly. I am high caste. You are. She waved a hand vaguely. Working class. My species is sensitive to resonance. Yours is psychically blunt. If they can bond us, they can bond anyone. Ethan frowned. Psychically blunt? Hey, it is true, she said, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. You project your emotions like a shout. There is no nuance.
No.
It is very loud. Ethan smiled back. Well, maybe you need a little volume in here. It's too quiet. The days blurred into a routine of sterile terror. Morning rations, inspection, the hours of waiting, the night cycle, the dreams. But the silence between them began to change. It stopped being a wall and started becoming a bridge. Ethan learned the rhythm of her fear. He noticed that she flinched at the sound of heavy boots in the corridor. A sharp, violent flinch that she immediately tried to hide. He noticed that the specific tone of the intercom caused her pupils to dilate. You have been in a cell before, he said one afternoon. They were sitting on the floor, eating their nutrient paste. Salith paused, her spoon hovering halfway to her mouth. Not a cell like this. A room. A very nice room with velvet curtains and guards who bowed. But the door was locked just the same. So you are a runaway princess? Ethan asked. That's the cliché? I was a negotiator, she corrected. My title was irrelevant. But yes, I ran, I tried to vanish, and they caught you. They didn't just catch me, she said darkly. They hunted me. She looked at him, and for the first time, she said his name without the translator's glitch. Ethan. Her voice dropped a register. It sounded warm, stripped of the metallic overlay. It sent a shiver down his spine that had nothing to do with the temperature.
No, why are you reloading right now? Why are you reloading
Ethan,
right now?
she said again, testing the weight of it. In my language, names are not just labels. They are coordinates. To name something is to claim knowledge of it. Well, you know where I sleep and you know I talk in my sleep, Ethan said. So I guess you know me pretty well. Salith leaned forward.
I'm out of here,
You must learn to speak without speaking. The microphones are always active, but they filter for keywords. Conspiracy, escape, weapon. So how do we talk? Ethan asked. Metaphor, she said. Context. She pointed to her bowl of gray sludge. The tea is very hot today. Ethan looked at the cold paste.
I
Okay.
think there is 5-man squad, actually.
The tea is hot. What does that mean? It means the surveillance is
Answer your
active,
question, I'm sorry.
she said.
I was
It means
very
be
locked in
careful.
right now.
Ethan nodded slowly.
Oh,
Okay. And if I say,
oh my god.
the weather looks bad, it means a guard is coming, she suggested. They spent the next hour building a dictionary of nonsense. It was a game, but it was also a lifeline. For the first time, they were not just victims. They were co-conspirators.
Where'd he go?
At one point, Ethan tried to demonstrate a human idiom about kicking the bucket and ended up pantomiming a clumsy death scene that involved him tripping over his own feet and crashing into the wall. It was slapstick. It was undignified. And Salith laughed. It wasn't the dry, mocking sound from the first day. It was a bright, startled sound, a peal of bells that cut through the sterile hum of the room. She covered her mouth with her hand, her eyes crinkling at the corners. You looked like a drunk waterfowl, she gasped. Ethan sat up, rubbing his shoulder where he had hit the wall. I was going for dramatic tragedy. You achieved chaotic comedy,
Are you
she said,
fucking kidding
wiping her
me?
eyes. The air in the room felt lighter.
That's crazy.
The crushing weight of the field seemed to recede,
It's okay.
pushed back by the simple, humanizing
First
force
game,
of
guys.
shared amusement. Ethan looked at her,
My first game.
really
My
looked at
first
her,
game.
and saw the woman beneath the alien mystic. She was lonely. She was terrified.
The fuck?
And she had a laugh that made him want to trip over his feet again just to hear it. The mood shattered 3 hours
Are
later.
you working?
The door opened for the evening count. It wasn't the polite guard. It was a new one, a massive, hulking man with scars on his neck and a stun baton that crackled menacingly at his hip. "Stand up," he barked. "Inspection." Ethan stood. Salith stood slowly, maintaining her regal slowness. The guard stepped into the room. He didn't look at Ethan. He walked straight to Salith. He invaded her space, standing so close his breath fogged the air. "Pretty thing," the guard sneered. "Waste of a cell." He reached out and grabbed a lock of her silver hair, rubbing it between his dirty fingers. Salith froze. She didn't pull away. She knew that would invite violence, but Ethan felt the spike.
Just got home.
It hit him like a physical blow to the solar plexus.
Dude, get on after.
Pure, white-hot fury. It wasn't his anger. It was hers. It was a primal, ancient rage that wanted to tear the guard's throat out with her teeth. It flooded Ethan's veins, overriding his common sense. Before he could think,
I see how it is.
Ethan moved. He stepped between them, shoving the guard's hand away. "Don't touch her!" Ethan snarled. The guard stumbled back, surprised. He looked at Ethan, then grinned. He raised the stun baton. "You want to be a hero, grease monkey?" Ethan raised his fists.
Where'd he go?
The rage was still pounding in his ears. Kill him, kill him, kill him. But he locked it down. He forced his own fear to the surface to dilute her fury. "Back off," Ethan said, his voice shaking but firm. "Check the regulations. No physical contact with inmates unless provoked. We are standing down. You are the one provoking." The guard hesitated. He glanced at the ceiling, at the surveillance halos. He knew the cameras were rolling. He lowered the baton slowly. "Watch yourself. Cross." The guard spat. "Accidents happen in here." He turned and stomped out. The door slammed.
I don't
Ethan
know.
sagged, his knees giving way. He sat heavily on
He
the
had a
floor.
purple gun.
Salith was there instantly. She didn't touch him, but she hovered close, her presence wrapping around him like a blanket. "You are an idiot," she whispered. "A brave, foolish idiot." Ethan looked up at her. His heart was racing, but not from fear. The resonance was still humming between them, but now the fury was gone, replaced by a profound, trembling gratitude. "I felt it," he said. "You wanted to kill him." "Yes," she admitted. "And you stopped me. You took the anger and you filtered it. You made it useful." She sat down next to him, her back against the metal wall. Ethan shifted so he was sitting back to back with her. They didn't speak. They just sat there, feeling the rise and fall of each other's breathing. The contact was forbidden. It was dangerous. But it felt like the only real thing in the universe. "Ethan," Salith said softly into the silence. "Yeah? I did not end up here by accident. I was not captured. I was delivered." Ethan turned his head slightly, trying to see her profile. "What do you mean?" "My own security detail," she said. "They drugged me. They flew me to the border of the neutral zone and handed me over to a Black Ops frigate. It was a transaction." "Why?" Ethan asked. She shifted, pulling the collar of her jumpsuit down to reveal her left collarbone. Ethan turned to look. There, burned into her pale skin, was a complex geometric brand when it looked like a flower made of knives, but a thick, ugly black bar had been tattooed over it, crossing it out. "That was the royal seal of House Vane," she said. "The black bar."
I'm just gonna get it.
That is the mark of a traitor. They sold me to the council to secure a trade route and to make sure I never spoke about the coup. She pulled the fabric back up. So you see, she said, I am not just a prisoner. I am a loose end. And this prison, this experiment, it is a way to tie me up permanently. If they can bond me to a human criminal, I am discredited forever. I become a biological deviant. No one will listen to a traitor who mates with a lower species. Ethan felt a cold knot in his stomach. That's the plan? To ruin your reputation? To destroy my sovereignty? She said. A bonded Elari cannot hold office. It is biological treason. She turned her head, her cheek almost brushing his. They are using you to break me. Ethan, you are the weapon.
I don't know what I was aiming at, bro.
Ethan closed his eyes.
What am I doing?
He felt the hum of the field, the steady thrum of her heartbeat against his spine. I won't do it, he whispered. I won't be their weapon. We'll fight it. We'll resist the bond. Salith let out a soft, sad laugh. Careful, human, she murmured. Heroism is addictive, and in here, the withdrawal will kill you. Ethan opened his eyes. He looked across the room at the far wall. Suddenly, the wall flickered. It wasn't a glitch. The opaque gray metal dissolved, revealing a thick pane of glass. Behind the glass was a darkened observation room. Ethan saw silhouettes, 3 of them. They were wearing lab coats. They were looking down at data pads, pointing at the cell, pointing at them sitting back to back. One of the figures looked up and smiled. It was a cold, satisfied smile. He turned to the other scientist and extended his hand. Palm up. The other scientist sighed and placed a credit chip in the open palm. They were betting. Ethan felt Salith stiffen against his back. The tea, she whispered, her voice trembling with cold fury, is scalding hot. Ethan stared at the scientists. He didn't move away from her. He leaned back harder, pressing his weight against hers, anchoring her. Let them watch, Ethan said. Let them lose their money. The wall flickered back to gray, hiding the observers. But the feeling of being in a cage had never been stronger. They were not just prisoners. They were lab rats in a maze, and the scientists had just raised the stakes. The routine of Kestrel Vault was designed to break the spirit through monotony, but Ethan Cross and Salith had turned it into a curriculum. The isolation cell, once a cage, had become a war room. They sat on the floor, legs crossed, a makeshift map drawn in the condensation on the cool metal of the wall panel. Ethan traced a line with his finger. Shift change is at 0600, he said, keeping his voice low, pitched just under the hum of the air recyclers. The guard on the left, the one with the nervous twitch, always checks his datapad for exactly 40 seconds. That is the blind spot. Salith nodded, her eyes tracking his finger, and the sensor sweep on the outer hull lagged by 3 seconds when the solar array realigns. I felt the vibration in the floor yesterday. It is a mechanical shudder. You felt a 3-second lag, Ethan asked, looking at her. I felt the station hiccup, she corrected. The containment field fluctuates when the power reroutes. It is like a heartbeat skipping. If we time it right, we can trick the door sensors into thinking the cell is empty. Ethan wiped the map away as the wall warmed up, erasing their plans. It was a long shot, a suicide run. But it was better than waiting for the scientists behind the glass to finish their bets. Salith leaned back against the bunk. She closed her eyes and took a deep, slow breath. Watch the camera in the corner, she whispered. Ethan looked up. The surveillance halo was glowing a steady, malevolent red. Salith exhaled, and the air in the room seemed to ripple. It was not a wind, It was a pressure change, a sudden heaviness that pressed against Ethan's eardrums. He watched Salith's chest rise and fall in a rhythm that was unnaturally slow. Above them, the red light on the camera flickered, then it turned amber. Then, for a terrifying 2 seconds, it went dark. Ethan stared. "How are you doing that?" Salith opened her eyes. The light snapped back to red. "Biofeedback," she said, her voice sounding drained. "The resonance field reacts to emotional volatility. The prison uses it to suppress us. But if I lower my metabolic rate and project a state of absolute void-like calm, the field tries to compensate. It draws more power to find the signal. It creates a localized brownout in the surveillance grid." "You are short-circuiting the room with Zen," Ethan said. "I am bending the bars," she said,
Oh my God, how
"but I can only hold it for a few moments. It is exhausting. It was a start. It was a weapon. And in a place where they had nothing, a weapon was everything. To keep the guards from noticing their planning, they staged elaborate performances of incompetence and cultural friction. It was Salith's idea. She called it aggressive camouflage. If the guards thought they were idiots, they might stop looking for the genius." Ethan stood in the center of the room, attempting a formal Ilari greeting Salith had described to him. "So, I bend at the waist, extend the left leg, and rotate my wrists?" Ethan asked. Salith watched him from the bunk, her face an impassive mask. "Not quite," she said.
No.
"You look like a crane with a broken wing attempting to court a tractor.
Let's play some duos.
The wrist rotation must be fluid. It symbolizes the flow of time.
So am I, it's okay.
You are making it look like you are unscrewing a jar."
Especially today, I don't know.
Ethan tried
I don't
again,
know what is up
adding
with
a
my
flourish
game,
that
but
ended with
it
him
is
nearly
not there.
overbalancing and slapping the wall. "Like that?" he asked, panting. Salith tilted her head.
I already-
"If the goal was to insult my ancestors by implying they
Yeah.
walk with a limp, then yes,
'Cause I keep using Dakotas
perfection."
and I haven't ordered
The next day,
like my own.
Salith decided to attempt human humor. "Ethan," she said during their
Yeah, I
mealtime,
found one, not
"I have
the one that he
constructed a
sent me, though.
joke."
The one he
Ethan
sent me,
looked up from his
they-
gray
it was
paste.
through, like, the
"I am
third-party
terrified.
website.
Let's hear it."
So I found
Salith
one for
sat up straighter.
$34.99 or
"Why did the
$35
human
or
refuse to enter the airlock?"
Because originally it was
"I don't
$39
know,"
at my
Ethan said. "Why?" "Because he lacked the structural integrity to withstand the pressure differential and feared his internal organs would liquefy," she said. She stared at him. Deadpan. Her eyes were wide and expectant. Ethan blinked. That is not a punchline." "Salith, that is a coroner's report. It is funny because it is true," she insisted. "It relies on the absurdity of your fragility.
Oh yeah.
I think we need to work on your delivery,"
Who the
Ethan
fuck is
said,
shooting at me?
fighting a smile.
What direction?
"You said it like you were sentencing me to death." The levity was a shield,
There.
but it was thin.
Or I meant third party this one.
The reality of their situation had a way of crashing through the laughter. One evening, the tension in the room shifted. It had been a long day of invasive scans and the low-level headache caused by the field.
Oh, fuck.
Ethan was sitting on the floor, rubbing the back of his neck. Salith moved to sit beside him.
Oh my
She did not
God.
touch him, but he could feel her concern radiating off her like heat from a radiator. "You are in pain," she
Yeah,
said
no,
softly.
I am not using
"It is just a headache," Ethan muttered. "The hum is louder tonight."
Oh, yeah, I already...
Salith reached
First
out.
of all, let me go see
Her hand hovered near his temple.
Brooklyn is over there first.
"I can help.
Oh,
If I
fuck.
synchronize our
Okay.
resonance,
Okay,
I can
okay.
dampen the noise for you." Ethan looked at her. Her eyes were soft, the iridescent flecks swirling slowly.
Yes, Mace.
"Okay," he whispered. She leaned in close. The air between them crackled. It was an intimate moment, a rare instance of tenderness in the cold metal box. "I just want to help you feel better," Salith said in her native tongue, her voice a melodic purr. The translator on her collarbone chirped, processed the complex Alari syntax for emotional alleviation and physical comfort, and then broadcast its interpretation over the room's intercom speakers at maximum volume. I desire to incubate your larvae in my chest cavity. The mechanical voice boomed off the walls. Ethan froze. Salith froze. From the corridor outside, there was a sudden clatter of armor. The heavy blast door hissed open halfway. 3 guards stood there, weapons drawn, looking wide-eyed and horrified. "Step away from the human," the lead guard shouted, his voice cracking. "No incubation. That is a code red violation." Salith looked at the guards. She looked at Ethan. Ethan looked at Salith. The sheer absurdity of it hit them at the same time. Ethan snorted. Salith bit her lip. "I do not have larvae," Ethan managed to choke out, holding his hands up to the guards. Salith turned away, her shoulders shaking. She let out a sound that was half gasp, half shriek. The guards looked confused. They lowered their weapons slowly, realizing they were not witnessing a biological horror show, but a translation error. "System malfunction," Salith said, her voice trembling with suppressed laughter. "I merely offered aspirin." The door slid shut. The moment the lock engaged, Ethan and Salith collapsed. They laughed until their ribs ached. They laughed until tears ran down their faces, washing away the fear and the planning and the constant crushing pressure of the prison. For 10 minutes. They were not prisoners. They were just 2 people sharing a terrible joke in the dark. But the darkness had ears. Later that night, when the lights dimmed and the laughter had faded into a comfortable silence, Ethan lay awake. He couldn't sleep. The air vent above his bunk was vibrating, carrying sound from the lower levels. He stood up on his mattress, pressing his ear against the grate.
Is that 2 people?
It was a trick he had learned on his old freighter. Ventilation shafts were the nervous system of any ship.
What?
They carried secrets. At first, it was just the mechanical thrum of the station.
Please.
Then, voices, distorted, metallic,
He's
but audible.
pissed.
"Timeline is accelerating," a male voice said. "The harmonization block is growing impatient. We need a catalyst."
Fuck.
A second voice replied, smooth, cultured. "The bond progression is slower than projected. The human is resistant.
Oh my God, I'm
Force it,"
scared.
the first voice snapped. "Initiate the Omega Protocol. If they do not bond, they are useless. We need the precedent. We need the legal loophole to seize the assets in the vein sector." Ethan dropped back down to his mattress, his heart hammering. He crawled across the floor to Salith's bunk. She was awake, watching him. "I heard them," he whispered.
Oh, there he is.
"Tell me," she said, her voice sharp.
Oh my God, there's this.
"They talked about the harmonization block,"
another team.
Ethan said,
Or solo
"and something
person.
called the Omega
Like
Protocol.
2 or 3 other people
They said-
here.
They said they need a catalyst. They are trying to force us to bond so they can seize your sector." Salith sat up, the shadows casting long lines across her face. "The harmonization block," she repeated, the name tasting like poison. "They are a radical faction within the council. They believe that multi-species integration should not be a choice, but a mandate. They want to dissolve sovereignty to create a single, controllable galactic state. And we are the test case?" Ethan asked. "We are the key," she said. "Look, Ethan, under galactic law, the resonance bond is considered a sacred biological contract. If 2 beings bond, their assets are legally merged to ensure the survival of the pair. It is an ancient law designed to protect families. But if the block can prove that a bond can be manufactured," she said, her eyes flashing. "If they can prove that a human and an Aolari can be forced to merge, then they can rewrite the definition of citizenship. They can claim that my royal seal, my lands, my entire heritage belongs to the partnership. And since you are a convicted criminal under their control,
Cool.
they own it
No
all.
one saw that.
Ethan finished. They are using me to steal your kingdom.
No one saw that.
They are using us to break the galaxy, she said. Forced resonance is a sovereignty violation. It is an act of war, but only if we can prove it was forced. If we bond, if we truly bond. They will edit the footage. They will make it look like love. They will make it look like we chose this. Ethan looked at his hands. So we have to fight it. We can't let them win. Salith looked at him, and for the first time, her expression was full of a profound sadness. Fighting it is what they want. Ethan. Stress accelerates the resonance. Fear accelerates it. The only way to win is to feel nothing. And She stopped. I am finding it very difficult to feel nothing around you, she whispered. The Omega Protocol did not wait for morning. At 0400 hours, the station screamed. Sirens erupted, a jagged, ear-splitting wail that bypassed the ears and vibrated in the teeth. The overhead lights turned a flashing, bloody crimson. Alert! Alert! Hull integrity critical. Decompression imminent in Sector 4. The computer voice was not the polite one. It was the emergency voice, flat, loud, and terrified. Ethan rolled off his bunk, landing in a crouch. Salith was already up, pressing her hand against the wall. Is it real? Ethan shouted over the sirens. I can't tell, she shouted back. The field is spiking. They are jamming my sense. A hiss of air filled the room. The temperature plummeted instantly. A white fog began to roll across the floor. Cryo-vapor.
Right?
Oxygen levels dropping. Seal failure in isolation wing. The blast door groaned, the metal warping under some unseen stress. We need to seal the vent, Ethan yelled. He grabbed his mattress and shoved it against the ventilation grate. It was freezing to the touch. Salith grabbed her own mattress, slamming it against the seam of the blast door. It's getting cold. Ethan, she said, her teeth chattering. The cold was unnatural. It bit through the smart fabric of their jumpsuits. Life support failing. Estimated time to vacuum exposure, 2 minutes. This is it, Ethan thought. They messed up. The staged incident went wrong. We are actually going to die. He looked at Salith. She was huddled by the door, shivering violently. Her skin, usually pale and luminous, was turning a dull gray. Ethan moved. He didn't think about the cameras. He didn't think about the politics.
Fuck, I can't
He crossed the
run.
room and pulled her away from the door. Get away from the cold, he said. He pulled her to the center of the room, the furthest point from the walls.
Fuck, I'm gonna die.
They sank to the floor. The fog was waist-high now. Salith was shaking so hard she couldn't speak. Ethan wrapped his arms around her. He pulled her against his chest, trying to share whatever body heat he had left.
Fuck!
She didn't pull away.
Fuck!
She buried her face in his neck. Ethan,
It's okay.
she whispered against his skin. I am scared. I know, he said, rubbing her back. I've got you. And then it happened. The containment field, reacting to the extreme stress,
Okay.
surged.
We got this.
It slammed into them like a physical wave. The barrier between them dissolved. Ethan didn't just feel her fear anymore. He felt her life. He felt the cold in her bones. He felt the memory of her mother singing to her in a crystal garden. He felt the crushing loneliness of 1,000 diplomatic dinners where no one spoke the truth. He felt her desperate, clawing need to be understood, to be seen not as a symbol, not as a prize, but as a person. And she felt him. She felt his childhood in the sprawling, dirty port cities of Earth. She felt the thrill of his first solo flight. She felt his shame at being arrested, his fear of dying without leaving a mark. She felt his protectiveness, a fierce, warm fire that burned specifically for her. The resonance locked in. It was painful. It was blinding. It was the most beautiful thing Ethan had ever felt. The sirens faded into the background. The cold seemed to distance itself. There was only the heat where their bodies touched. Ethan pulled back slightly to look at her. Her eyes were glowing, literally glowing, with a soft, violet light. They aren't just watching, he realized. They are pushing us. I don't care, Salith whispered. Her voice echoed in his head, clear as a bell. I don't care if they are watching. She looked at his mouth. Ethan realized that the desire pulsing through him wasn't just biology. It wasn't just the field. It was the hunger to bridge the last inch of distance, to claim this moment, this connection, as their own, regardless of who signed the paperwork. Salith, he breathed. She reached up, her cold fingers touching his jaw. I am terrified of needing you, she whispered.
Okay.
Then lean in anyway,
Wait.
he said.
Did you pick?
She did. The kiss was not tentative. It was a collision. It was desperate and fierce, a reclaiming of territory. It tasted of adrenaline and salt.
I thought you...
It was a refusal to be separate in a universe that wanted them to be alone. For a long moment, there was no prison,
here?
there was no council, there was only the circuit closing between them. A feedback loop of emotion that spiraled higher and higher until it felt like they were burning up from the inside. Bond event registered. The computer voice cut through the air, shattering the moment. Synchronization complete. Class of resonance achieved. The sirens cut off instantly. The red lights turned to a sterile, bright white. The hiss of escaping air stopped. The fog began to dissipate. It was a simulation. Ethan pulled away, gasping for air.
No.
Salith slumped against him, her eyes wide and dazed. The door hissed open this time. It was not a guard. A man walked in. He was tall, wearing a suit of iridescent silk that shimmered like an oil slick. He had no weapon. He carried a single, slim briefcase. He stepped over the threshold, smiling a polite, diplomatic smile. Impressive, the man said.
Bro.
His voice was smooth,
my...
like polished glass.
Dude, what
Truly
is
impressive.
happening?
The metrics are off the charts. Ethan scrambled to his feet, pulling Salith up with him. He positioned himself between her and the man. Who are you? Ethan demanded. I am Attaché Voros, the man said, legal counsel for the harmonization block. And I am the first to congratulate you on your union. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a data pad. According to the data we just collected, he said, tapping the screen. You are now bonded, biologically, emotionally, and legalistically. You are
You got this. You got this.
inseparable.
No.
Salith stepped out from behind Ethan. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. It was coerced. She said,
We're still warming
you
up.
staged the breach. You forced the resonance. It is illegal evidence. Voros chuckled. Prove it. The logs will show a sensor malfunction, a regrettable error. But the bond is real. We have the footage. We have the biodata. You chose to embrace. You chose to kiss. He held up the data pad. It showed a freeze frame of the moment, their desperate embrace, the glow in Salith's eyes. Here is the deal, Voros said, his tone hardening. You will sign a statement confirming the voluntary nature of this union.
Is a full try-hard hour?
You will agree to be
Right?
transferred to a holding facility on Prime Center, where you will live in considerable comfort as guests of the block.
K-pop bitch, huh?
Your assets will be managed by us for your safety. And if we refuse? Ethan asked. Voros sighed. Then we will have to separate you. Salith flinched.
Oh my god, I want
Separation?
to be this guy.
We will send Mr. Cross to a mining colony in the deep dark. Voros said. And you, Salith, you will be relocated to a medical research wing. They have been very eager to study the neurological effects of severing a fresh bond. I hear it is agonizing, like a lobotomy. But for the heart. Ethan
Like,
stepped
damn,
forward,
literally.
his fists clenched. You can't do
So make
that.
sure
I can
points
do
the
whatever the
countdown that-
paperwork
countdown
allows,
at, like, 3 or
Voros
whatever,
said.
You go to the top
You
of
have
the
1
wave.
hour to
So
decide.
if you go to the
He
top
turned
of
to the
wave,
guards
higher
waiting in
you
the
are, I
corridor.
believe.
Take Mr. Cross to the holding cell. Let them think about the cost of defiance. No! Salith shouted. She reached for Ethan. The guards rushed in.
Mouse.
2 of them grabbed Ethan, dragging him back. Ethan fought. He kicked and struggled, but they were armored and heavy. Salith, he yelled. Salith lunged, but the containment field slammed down between them, a shimmering wall of force that threw her back. She hit the floor, looking up at him through the barrier. Her mask was gone completely now. Her face was naked with fear and fury. Tell him, Ethan shouted as they dragged him toward the door. Tell him to go to
Not
hell.
gonna make it, am I?
Salith scrambled to her knees. She didn't look at Voros. She looked at Ethan, her eyes locked onto his. The resonance was still there, stretching thin like a rubber band, vibrating with pain. She spoke, and her voice was a steel blade wrapped in velvet. Ethan, she called out. Remember! The guards hauled him through the doorway. They can steal our bodies, she screamed, the words echoing down the sterile corridor. But they did not steal the choice. We chose. The blast door slammed shut, cutting off her voice. Ethan was alone in the corridor, held by 2 guards. But in the silence of his own head, he could still feel her, a phantom warmth, a ghost of violet light. The bond wasn't just a trap anymore, it was a lifeline. And now, he had to figure out how to use it to strangle the men who held the other end. The interrogation room smelled like vanilla and expensive sanitizer. It was not a dark basement with a single swinging bulb, nor was it the sterile, cold box of the isolation wing. It was a lounge. There was a plush carpet that swallowed the sound of footsteps, a low table made of genuine wood, and a large holographic window displaying a serene view of a terrestrial ocean crashing against cliffs. Ethan Cross sat in a chair that was more comfortable than the pilot seat of the Stardust Runner. His hands were not cuffed. There were no guards in the room. Across from him sat Attaché Voros. The man was peeling a citrus fruit with a small silver knife. The peel came away in a single perfect spiral. Please, Voros said, gesturing to a porcelain cup on the table. Drink the tea. It is a synthesis of distinct herbs from the beta sector. It helps with neural regeneration. You look tired, Mr. Cross. Ethan did not touch the tea. He looked at the window. It is a loop, he said. The 3rd wave hits the rock at the exact same angle every 40 seconds. Voros smiled, placing a slice of fruit in his mouth. Observant. That is a quality we value. Most people see the ocean and relax. You see the algorithm and tense up. Where is she? Ethan asked. She is undergoing a standard medical evaluation, Voros said, to ensure the bond event did not cause any neurological cascading. She is quite safe, safer than you, at the moment. Voros wiped his hands on a silk napkin. He leaned forward, his demeanor shifting from host to shark. You are confused, Ethan. You think this is about punishment. You think we are villains in a melodrama who enjoy cruelty? We are not. We are architects. Architects of what? Ethan asked. Kidnapping? Extortion? Stability, Voros corrected. He tapped the table, and the holographic ocean vanished, replaced by a rotating map of the galaxy. Red lines connected star systems like veins. The Concord is fragile, Voros said. Treaties are signed in ink, and ink fades. Leaders die, governments change. But biology? Biology is permanent. He zoomed in on a sector marked with the royal seal of Salith's house. We have a theory, the harmonization block. We believe that if we can create bonded pairs, one from a human faction, one from an alien sovereign state, we can create living contracts. Imagine a treaty that cannot be broken because the signatories would physically suffer if they separated. An unbreakable political asset. Ethan felt a cold chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. You want to breed hostages. We want to engineer peace, Voros said. Salith is a high-value asset. Her genetic lineage carries weight. By bonding her to a human, even a lowly hauler like yourself, we bind her territory to Earth's trade interests. It is elegant.
What are you peeing?
He swiped his hand, and a video feed appeared in the air. It showed Salith. She was sitting in a chair similar to Ethan's, looking calm. Her hands were folded in her lap. I entered the bond willingly, the video Salith said.
Wait, why
Her
did
voice
it
was
show
smooth.
the circle?
I realized that resistance was futile, and that Mr. DeCross offered a unique biological compatibility.
Oh, we're hella
I
out of
submit to the
circle.
block's protection.
Oh, fuck.
Ethan watched the video. The lighting was perfect. The audio was crisp. It was a masterpiece of deepfake technology. Voros watched Ethan's face. She has already confessed. Ethan, she sees the logic. Why fight it? If you sign the statement, you get a villa on a paradise world. You get her. You get to be the consort to a queen. Is that not what you want? Ethan looked at the screen. He looked at the perfect, calm image of Salith. Then he closed his eyes and reached out. He didn't reach with his hands. He reached with the new, raw nerve ending that had opened in his chest during the siren wail.
You get in?
He pushed
she's
past
okay.
the smell of vanilla and the sound of Voros's voice.
Fuck.
He hunted for the static. He found it. It wasn't calm. It was a jagged, screaming storm of pain and calculated fury. He felt the cold bite of metal restraints. He felt the hum of invasive sensors scanning her cerebral cortex. He felt a profound, exhausting terror that she was burying under layers of discipline. But beneath the terror, he felt a singular pulsing signal directed at him. A feeling that translated to a single word. Liar. Ethan opened his eyes. He looked at Voros and smiled. A real, dangerous smile. Bad acting, Ethan said. Voros frowned. I assure you, the recording is authentic. She holds her tension in her left shoulder when she lies, Ethan said. And she never uses the word submit. She would choke on it. Ethan leaned back, crossing his arms. You don't have her cooperation. You have a prisoner. And judging by the headache I have right now, she is giving your doctors hell.
Hello.
Voros stared at him.
Hi.
The polite mask slipped, revealing the bureaucrat beneath.
Thank you for stopping
The
by.
bond
Are you
allows
watching
you
the
to
Game
detect
Awards?
deception? Voros asked, his voice sharp. The bond allows me to know she wants you dead, Ethan said. And so do I. Voros stood up. He buttoned his jacket. Regrettable, he said. We will just have to edit your confession together from the autopsy footage. He turned to the door. Enjoy the tea.
There's someone up here.
Mr. Cross,
Fight.
the guards will come for you in 1 hour. Salith was not in a lounge. She was strapped to a bio bed in a room filled with blinding white light.
They have a fucking bot, bro.
Wires were adhered to her temples, her chest, and the base of her spine.
Oh shit. I'm
3
sick.
technicians in surgical masks were monitoring a wall of displays that
shit,
scrolled
what
with
the fuck is
cascading
this?
data streams.
What the fuck?
Subject's neural activity is erratic, one technician said. I am seeing delta wave spikes of 400%.
I know,
She
I
is
should
fighting
watch
the
this from
sedative.
start, honestly.
Another muttered. Increase the dosage. Salith lay perfectly still. Her eyes were closed. She was not fighting the sedative. She was metabolizing it, burning it away with a breathing technique her grandmother had taught her to survive poisoning attempts at court. They wanted to map the bond. They wanted to see the frequency of the connection so they could replicate it, synthesize it, sell it. She would not give them the map. She would give them the fire. She focused on the connection to Ethan. It was a thin, golden thread in the dark. She could feel him, his smug satisfaction at confusing the attaché, his underlying fear, his readiness. Ethan, she projected, it wasn't words, it was an intent. She gathered every ounce of frustration, every spark of pain from the restraints,
Thank you so much for
every
stopping by,
jagged
Frost.
edge of
I
her
appreciate
fear,
you.
and she compressed it.
Thank you.
She turned her emotional state into a dense,
Thank you.
heavy singularity. Then she pushed it into the resonance field. The technician's screens flickered. Warning, the first technician said. Feedback loop detected. The resonance dampeners are overheating. Salith mentally shoved the energy harder. She imagined the burning city. She imagined the scream of the sirens. Now, she signaled. The lights in the room exploded. In the lounge, the holographic window fizzled and died. The lights cut out, plunging the room into darkness. The electronic lock on the door disengaged with a pathetic click. Ethan didn't wait. He didn't ask questions. He knew the signal. It felt like a cymbal crash in his skull. He grabbed the heavy porcelain teapot from the table. The door opened. A guard, illuminated by the emergency lights on his helmet, stepped in, rifle raised, prisoner cross, remain C. Ethan swung the teapot. It connected with the guard's helmet with a shattering crunch of ceramic. The guard staggered back, stunned. Ethan stepped in, grabbed the rifle barrel, drove his knee into the guard's solar plexus, and slammed the man's head into the doorframe. The guard crumpled. Ethan stripped the man of his belt, keycard, stun baton, data pad, and checked the hallway.
Oh shit,
Emergency strobes were pulsing blue. The gravity was fluctuating. His stomach lurched as the floor seemed to drop a few inches, then slam back up. Thank you. Salith, he thought. He didn't run for the elevators. They would be locked down. He ran for the maintenance access panel he had seen on the schematic during his tribunal. He pried the panel open and squeezed into the dark, oily throat of the station. The maintenance shafts of Kestrel Vault were not built for humans. They were built for drones and small, multi-limbed repair bots. The gravity here was a suggestion, not a law. Ethan crawled through a conduit that smelled of ozone and ancient grease every 10 meters. The gravity shifted. One moment he was crawling on his hands and knees, the next, he was falling sideways onto the wall, which had suddenly become the floor. He navigated by the bond. Salith was a beacon, a pulsing star of location in his mind. She was below him, deeper in the medical sector. The walls of the shaft were covered in scratchings, graffiti from generations of inmates who had tried and failed to find a way out. The void eats. Read one. Mama, I'm sorry. Read another. And then, in bright, defiant yellow paint, God is watching, but he is blinking. Ethan rounded a corner, sliding down a ramp that twisted like a slide, and landed in a junction room. He wasn't alone. A figure was sitting on a crate, reading a data pad by the light of a glow stick. The figure looked up. He was a Talarian, squat, porcine features, with a monocle grafted directly into his left eye socket. He wore a tattered prisoner jumpsuit that had been meticulously tailored with scraps of wire to look like a formal suit. Ah, the Talarian said, not looking surprised. The disruption. I calculated a 12% probability of an inmate-induced power failure today. You are early. Ethan raised the stun baton. Who are you? I am Vexlar, the Talarian said, standing up and brushing dust from his knees. Formerly the Grand Auditor of the Third Quadrant Supply Chain. Currently, Inmate 4402. And you are the human who has been making the energy grid weep. You know the grid? Ethan asked, lowering the baton slightly. I know everything that flows, Vexlar said. Water, power, data, sewage. It is all logistics. I was imprisoned for exposing the Council's embezzlement of terraforming funds. They did not appreciate my arithmetic. Vexlar peered at Ethan with his monocle. You have the look of a man looking for a woman, he observed, or perhaps a very specific sandwich. But given the resonance spike I felt earlier, I assume it is the woman, the Alari Royal. You know her? I know her file, Vexlar said. I know everyone's file. I hacked the archive with a spoon and a battery. It took me 3 years. He stepped closer. I want out. Human. This station is an insult to efficiency. The bureaucracy is sloppy. The harmonization block is messy. I wish to file a formal complaint in person with a thermal detonator. Ethan looked at the strange little man. Can you get me to the medical wing? Vexlar scoffed. The medical wing? Child's play. I can get you to the laundry chute that bypasses the biometric scanners and deposits you directly into the sterile storage closet adjacent to the lab. But we must hurry. The emergency reboot cycle takes 4 minutes and 30 seconds. He extended a hand. Do we have an accord?
Oh no.
Ethan shook the hand. It felt like leather. Led the way. Auditor.
Right?
The reunion was not cinematic.
Okay.
There was no slow motion run. Vexlar guided Ethan through a maze of pipes and pressure valves, finally stopping at a heavy panel marked Biohazard Disposal. She is on the other side of this bulkhead, Vexlar whispered. But I cannot open it. It is magnetically sealed from the inside. Ethan pressed his hands against the cold metal. He closed his eyes. Salith. He sent the thought like a pulse. On the other side of the wall, inside the chaotic, flashing darkness of the lab where technicians were scrambling to reset the breakers. Salith's head snapped up. She was still strapped to the bed, but the technicians had retreated to the control booth. She couldn't move her body, but she could move her mind. She reached out. Ethan felt her hand press against the metal on the other side, mirroring his own. The bond flared. It wasn't the violent spike of the emergency. It was a warm, steady hum. It was the feeling of coming home after a long flight. Are you hurt?
Or do I go to the one?
The question wasn't spoken, but Ethan heard it. No. He sent back. I'm getting you out. Vexlar says there's a manual release for the restraints on the subconsole. I know, she replied. I can see it, but I can't reach it. Ethan pressed his forehead against the metal. He could hear her breathing on the other side. The synchronization happened naturally now. In, out, in, out. Listen to me. Salith, Ethan whispered to the wall. This bond. Voros said they want to use it as a contract, a leash. I know, she answered.
Fuck them kids.
They want to make us a sovereign state of 2, owned by them. We can't let them, Ethan said. But we can't break it either. I don't want to break it. There was a pause, a silence that was heavy and terrified and tender. In my culture, Salith's thought voice came through, soft as velvet. Resonance without consent is a crime. It is a spiritual assault. I feared. I feared I would hate you for being the instrument of my violation. I feared I would look at you and see only the cage. Ethan swallowed hard. And now, she sent, and he could feel the ghost of a smile. I fear that if the cage opens, I will not want to leave if you are not with me. I fear I am becoming addicted to your noise. Ethan Cross. Ethan laughed, a wet, choked sound. I was afraid I'd lose myself, he admitted. That I'd just become an extension of you and the sidekick. You are no sidekick, she replied fiercely. You are the anchor. You are the only thing that is real in this hologram of a prison. Then we make a vow, Ethan said. Right here. The wall is the witness. Name it. We define the bond, Ethan said. It doesn't define us. I am Ethan. You are Salith. We share the feeling, but we choose the action. No matter what they offer, no matter what they threaten. We never let them use this against us. We don't become their chain. Agreed. Salith sent.
My bad.
We are not a contract. We are a revolution. Now, Ethan said, stepping back from the wall. Let's blow this popsicle stand. Vexlar tapped Ethan on the shoulder. A touching telepathic communion, he said dryly. But the reboot cycle is at 90%. If you want to rescue the princess, you need to override the door lock now.
I'm gonna land with
How? Ethan asked. It's magnetic. Vexlar handed him a small, blinking device made of wire and a luted battery. Attach this to the panel. It will confuse the door into thinking it is a toaster. The escape was a blur of adrenaline and acting. Ethan blew the lock. He stormed the lab, stunning the two technicians before they could reach the alarm. He freed Salith, her movements stiff from the restraints but her eyes burning with cold fire. They stripped the technicians of their lab coats and ID badges. Vexlar worked his magic on the central terminal. I am inserting a logic bomb into the personnel database, the Talarian muttered, typing furiously. For the next 20 minutes, the system will believe that there are 3 visiting inspectors from the Interstellar Health Board, 1 human specialist, 1 Ilari consultant, and 1 Talarian hygiene officer. Hygiene officer, Ethan asked, buttoning a lab coat that was too small for him. It commands respect, Vexlar said. No one wants to argue with the man inspecting the toilets. They moved into the corridors. The station was in chaos from the power outage, but order was returning. Squads of guards ran past them, heading toward the maintenance shafts where Ethan had been. They walked in the opposite direction, toward the docking bay. Walk with purpose, Salith whispered. She had pulled her hair back and donned a surgical mask. She carried a data pad and walked with a terrifying clipboard authority. They reached the main concourse, a wide, glass-walled promenade that looked out over the stars. It was crowded. Why is it so crowded? Ethan asked, keeping his head down. Vexlar checked his data pad. Ah, the diplomatic inspection. The delegates from the council are arriving to tour the facility. That is why the security is distracted. They are all polishing their boots. We have to walk right through them, Salith said. It is the only way to the executive hangar. They merged into the flow of staff. The inspection party was ahead, a phalanx of sleek floating cameras and dignitaries in high-collared robes. They were laughing, pointing at the humane containment units, drinking sparkling wine. Ethan felt Salith tense up. It wasn't fear, it was recognition. Don't look, Ethan signaled through the bond. Just keep walking. But Salith stopped. Standing in the center of the group, laughing at a joke made by the warden, was a man in crimson robes. He had a face like a hawk and eyes that slid away from contact. It was the judge, the one who had sentenced Ethan without looking at him, the one who had sealed the evidence for diplomatic stability. Counselor Malik, Salith whispered. He's here? Ethan asked. He is the sponsor, she realized. He is the one funding the harmonization block.
You got this.
He sent me here. She started to turn toward him.
I don't know what's wrong.
Salith. No. Ethan sent. We need to leave. He needs to know. She sent back. The fury was cold and sharp. He needs to know he failed. She didn't draw a weapon. She didn't shout. She simply adjusted her lab coat, walked through the security cordon, and stepped directly into the counselor's path. Counselor Malik stopped. He looked annoyed at the interruption. Excuse me. Staff, he said. We are in the middle of a... Salith pulled down her surgical mask. The counselor froze. His glass of wine tipped, spilling red liquid onto his pristine white boots. He didn't notice. He stared at her face, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. You, he stammered. You should be in containment? Salith finished for him. Her voice was pleasant, conversational, and absolutely terrifying.
Brain does not work.
She took a step closer. The guards were confused. They thought she was part of the tour. I just wanted to give you a progress report. Counselor, she said, her voice carrying over the crowd. The experiment was a success. The bond is active. She reached out and straightened his collar. He flinched as if she were holding a knife. But you made a calculation error, she whispered. Lean in close so only he and Ethan could hear. You assumed that if you tied us together, we would drown. You forgot that wood floats. She patted his chest. Run, Malik, she said softly. Start running now, because when I get to a transmitter, I am going to burn your career to the ground. She smiled. It was the smile of a predator looking at a wounded animal. Then she turned and walked away. Ethan fell in beside her. Vexlar scurried after them. The counselor stood there, pale and shaking, unable to call for the guards because doing so would admit he knew who she was. He was paralyzed by the very conspiracy he had built.
We just passed it.
That was dramatic, Ethan whispered as they reached the hangar bay doors. It was necessary, Salith said, her hands shaking slightly now that the adrenaline was fading. He needed to see me. He needed to be afraid. Fear makes people make mistakes.
Damn.
And we need him to make a mistake,
What?
Vexlar added,
People
hacking the door
are
panel.
barking.
Because I believe he just signaled the Black Ops team. The hangar doors hissed open. Inside, the Stardust runner was gone. In its place was a sleek, fast courier ship. I'll drive, Ethan said. I'll navigate, Salith said. I will complain about the lack of seatbelts, Vexlar said. They ran. The corridors of Kestrel Vault were no longer silent. They were alive with the sound of hunting. Ethan Cross
I don't
ran.
even have a gun.
His lungs burned with the recycled air, which tasted of ozone and panicked sweat.
Oh my.
Beside him, Salith moved with a terrifying grace, her lab coat flapping like a broken wing.
All right,
Behind
Destiny, I
them,
don't know. I think
scurrying
I
on
can
short,
it.
sturdy legs. Vexlar the Talarian wheezed and clutched his portable data pad like a holy text. We have company, Vexlar shouted. Drones, Class 4 pursuit models. They have cutting lasers. I advise running faster. Ethan glanced back. Floating spheres of chrome and glass were zipping around the corner, their red optical sensors painting the walls with frantic light. A laser beam sliced through the air, scorching the metal bulkhead inches from Ethan's ear. Not the hallway, Salith commanded. She pointed to a heavy blast door marked Agrosynthesis. In there. Ethan didn't argue. He slammed his stolen keycard against the reader. The light turned red. Denied! Vexlar! Ethan yelled. The Talarian slid to a halt, jammed his wired-together hacking device into the port, and typed a command that looked like he was playing a piano. Access granted, Vexlar announced. The door groaned and slid open. They dove inside just as a web of laser fire stitched across the metal where they had been standing. They didn't land on a floor. They landed in mud. The air was thick, humid, and smelled aggressively of fertilizer and blooming jasmine. They were in the hydroponics bay, a massive cylindrical chamber where genetically modified crops grew in spiraling towers that stretched up toward the artificial sun lamps. It is a jungle, Ethan gasped, wiping mud from his face. It is a firing range, Salith corrected. The drones swarmed into the room behind them. Their sensors struggled with the dense foliage, the red lights fracturing through the leaves of giant, purple-veined ferns. Ethan grabbed Salith's hand. The contact sent a jolt through him, not static, but a pulse of pure direction. Left, up the gantry, the ventilation scrubbers. He didn't need to ask how she knew. He could feel her mental map overlaying his own vision, a ghost image of the room's schematics. They scrambled up the metal walkways, dodging through the hanging roots of star melons. Below them, the drones began to fire blindly, slicing through vines and shattering irrigation pipes. Water sprayed into the air, turning the room into a misty, chaotic rainforest. "We need to reach the cargo spine," Ethan shouted over the hiss of steam. "The access point is through the oxygen garden," Salith yelled back. They sprinted across a suspension bridge. The air grew cleaner, sweeter. They burst through a set of decorative glass doors and skidded onto a floor of polished marble. The oxygen garden was not a farm. It was a cathedral. It was built for the PR tours, a pristine park-like sanctuary with manicured lawns, benches made of white stone, and a ceiling that projected a perfect, cloudless blue sky. It was a lie made of botany. Security teams were waiting. 10 guards in heavy riot armor stood in a phalanx at the far end of the garden, blocking the exit to the launch bays. They raised their rifles. "Halt!" the commander boomed, his voice amplified. Ethan skidded to a stop. "We are trapped." Vexlar looked at the guards, then at his datapad. "The probability of survival in a direct confrontation is 0.04%. Salith stepped forward. She didn't look at the guards. She looked at the ceiling, at the fake sky.
You can't get out of the car, huh?
"Ethan," she said, her voice calm in his mind. "The irrigation system. It is pressurized for emergency fires." Ethan looked at the sprinkler heads concealed in the decorative arches. "I see it," he thought back. "Vexlar?" Vexlar was already typing.
Yeah, I'm actually really
"I assume you want to make it rain?" "Make it flood," Salith said. Vexlar hit enter. The garden exploded. The sprinkler system didn't just activate, it purged. High-pressure jets of water erupted from the ceiling and the floor, hitting the guards with the force of fire hoses. The phalanx broke. Men were knocked off their feet, sliding across the wet marble. The artificial sky flickered and shorted out, raining sparks down into the deluge. "Run!" Ethan screamed. They splashed through the chaos, leaping over flailing guards and sliding under the closing blast doors of the cargo spine. They reached the executive hangar. It was empty, save for one ship. It was a courier craft, sleek, black, and shaped like a dagger. It was the Aegis 7, a vessel designed for speed and diplomatic immunity. "That is our ride," Ethan said, breathless. They ran up the ramp. Ethan threw himself into the pilot's seat. Salith took the co-pilot station. Vexlar buckled himself into the jump seat, looking green. Ethan punched the ignition sequence. The engines roared to life, a comforting vibration that he felt in his teeth. "Systems green," Ethan said, releasing docking clamps. The ship lurched free of the station. The stars filled the viewport, real stars, cold and distant and beautiful. "We did it," Ethan breathed. He laughed, a ragged sound. "We actually did it." He reached for the nav computer to punch in the coordinates for the neutral zone. The computer beeped. A red padlock icon appeared on the screen. "Destination locked. Override denied." Ethan frowned. "What?" "Vexlar. Unlock the nav." Vexlar tapped his datapad. He frowned. "I cannot. The system is hard-coded. It is not a glitch. It is a pre-programmed flight path." "Where are we going?" Salith asked,
Oh shit.
her voice tight. Ethan watched the screen as the ship's autopilot engaged the thrusters, banking them sharply away from the freedom of open space.
Why was I doing?
"We aren't escaping," Ethan said, his stomach dropping. "We are being delivered."
God. Okay, Destiny.
The screen flashed the destination in bold, cheerful letters. "Arbitration Theater, Sector 0. The prison wasn't meant to hold us, Salith realized, her face pale. It was meant to process us. This was never a jailbreak. It was a commute. The arbitration theater was not a building on a planet. It was a station, a massive, hollowed-out asteroid painted in absolute black so that it vanished against the void. The only lights were the docking beacons, guiding the helpless courier ship into its maw.
break from that
The
game.
Aegis 7 landed on a platform that rose
I'll
upward,
probably start doing
ascending
that
into a
soon.
cavernous chamber that looked
Maybe
less like a
tomorrow
courtroom
or
and
the
more like a
weekend.
gladiatorial arena. The ship's ramp
Actually, not
lowered
Saturday, 'cause I
automatically.
will be doing an IRL
Ethan
stream
stood
on
up.
Saturday
He looked
for
at
our
Salith.
Christmas, just for a little bit.
"Whatever happens out
Sunday, I should
there,"
be home all
he
day,
said,
and I most
taking
likely
her
will be
hand.
streaming.
"We stick to the plan.
Tomorrow, I also
We
have a
define the
meeting
bond.
when I get home.
They don't."
So,
Salith squeezed his hand. Her palm was cold, but the resonance between them was a blazing fire. "Together," she
like a
projected.
lifeguard or something?
They walked down the ramp. The chamber was circular. The walls were lined with thousands of tiered seats, but they were empty.
Crazy week at work
Instead,
where
floating
I've
holographic
used my
avatars
brain
filled the
so
stands,
much that I'm
ghostly projections of
exhausted.
council delegates, corporate
Can't even think.
stakeholders, and media
Not enough
moguls from
sense in
1,000
them.
systems.
It's just
They were watching via live feed.
um,
In the center of the room, 3 enormous figures loomed.
going to
They were holographic
record
projections of the high
this
judges,
one.
towering 20 feet tall, shimmering in
I
gold
think
and
I'm
white
actually gonna
light.
go watch
The air
the
buzzed with the sound of a million
Awards,
whispers,
which
the
is
audio feed of the audience.
going on his stream.
"Welcome,"
It's like pretty
intoned the center judge, a being with a face of shifting geometric shapes. "The session is now in order. Case number 99 Alpha, the harmonization block versus the concept of sovereignty." Ethan and Salith were ushered onto a raised dais in the center of the floor. Vexlar scurried behind them, trying to look invisible. Opposite them, a podium rose from the floor. Attaché Voros stood there. He looked fresh, rested, and entirely too pleased. "My lords," Voros began, his voice amplified to fill the chamber. "We are not here to try these individuals for escape.
Do you hear a hissing
We are
sound
here
in
to
the mic?
celebrate a
Please
breakthrough."
let me know right now.
He gestured to Ethan and
Let
Salith.
me know.
"Behold," Voros said, "the first successful stable integration of human and Elari neural
Those barely
pathways.
cough.
Proof that our
May-
species are
maybe
not
you
just
would.
compatible, but designed for
Do
each
you guys
other."
hear a hissing sound?
A murmur of excitement rippled through the holographic crowd. "The block contends," Voros
My
continued,
English?
pacing like a showman,
Okay.
"that this bond renders the old treaties
Let me know.
obsolete. Why have borders when we can have biology? Why have trade agreements when we can have marriage? We propose that Salith of House Vane be recognized not as a sovereign monarch, but as the first matriarch of the Unified Species Initiative, and that her human partner, Mr. Cross, be granted the title of state asset.
Of course.
"Asset," Ethan muttered. "That means slave."
Yeah, Fortnite.
Salith stepped forward. The lights caught the silver of her hair.
Do my hair.
"I am not an asset," she said. Her voice was not amplified, but it cut through the room with razor clarity. "And this bond is not a breakthrough. It is a crime scene."
I don't know if I should have this.
The center judge looked down. "You speak of coercion, child, but the data shows synchronization. You feel his pain. He feels your fear. Is this not intimacy?" "It is rape," Salith said. The word hung in the air, heavy and ugly. The holographic audience gasped. Voros chuckled. "Melodrama.
Diamond?
You are confused by the intensity of your new emotions."
Naturally.
Ethan stepped up beside her. He felt the eyes of the galaxy on him. He was a cargo hauler. He wasn't a politician. He didn't know how to speak to holograms,
Crazy.
but he knew how to speak to bullies. "I'm from Earth," Ethan said. His voice cracked,
Kenny,
then
hello.
steadied. "We have a history of people telling us that things are for our own good.
Aunt,
They told us
hello.
the surveillance satellites were for safety. They told us the indentured labor contracts were for economic stability." He looked directly at Voros. "Now you are telling us that mind control is romance. You wrapped a prison in a bow and called it a honeymoon. But I know what fear tastes like. Voros, I can taste it on you right now."
I know.
Voros stiffened. "You are afraid," Ethan continued, "because you know this isn't about unity. It is about money." Voros waved a hand dismissively. "Speculation. Where is your proof?" Salith unzipped the collar of her jumpsuit. The holographic camera zoomed in.
I don't know
My
why
proof, she said,
this is not
is written in the very thing you tried to erase. She revealed the brand on her collarbone,
Hi, DK.
the royal seal that had been crossed out with a black bar. You branded me a traitor, Salith said. You used a laser scarring unit to deface my house crest. But you were arrogant. You used a standard council medical laser. And I know the technician who operated it.
You finally said my name.
She tapped the scar.
Dude, I know. I
He
don't
didn't
know
just
why.
burn
I
me.
just always want to call you
He
Mark.
encoded data into the depth and frequency of the scar tissue. It is
All the time.
steganography. She looked up at the judges.
Okay.
Scan it. The center judge gestured. A
Who-
beam of blue light swept over Salith's skin. A massive projection appeared in the air above the arena. It was a ledger, columns of numbers, dates, and names. These are the transaction logs, Salith announced. Bribes paid by the harmonization block to prison contractors. Payments to the judges of the lower courts, and a transfer of 4 billion credits to the personal account of Counselor Malik.
Okay,
The chamber erupted.
I'm gonna start
The
Fortnite.
holographic audience flickered as
We're gonna
thousands
start
of
with
people
Fortnite,
began
guys.
shouting
I
at
will
once.
be playing
Voros turned
PUBG
pale.
as well.
That is a
Tomorrow I will be back
fabrication.
with Tekken to
It is
stream.
biological data,
Um,
Salith countered. It
yeah, I
cannot be
definitely need to
faked
break
without
some
killing the
Tekken.
host.
So I
The
think
center
I'm
judge
ready
leaned forward, his geometric
to get back
face
on
shifting
Tekken.
rapidly.
Uh,
Order! Order in the theater!
Hello, hello.
Voros
hello.
tapped his earpiece. He seemed to listen to a voice from the
So
shadows.
hopefully
Then he
the break
smiled.
that I took from Tekken
It was a
was
tight,
enough.
desperate smile. Very well,
I'm
Voros said.
hoping.
Perhaps there were irregularities in the funding,
Where do I meet you?
but that does
We're
not
gonna go
change
live
the
stream.
reality of the bond.
Death Coast, if you
He
can
snapped his
tell
fingers.
Becca, I'm gonna drag her right
The
now
arena
with,
darkened. A new projection appeared.
Destiny.
It was Earth, but not the Earth Ethan knew. It was Earth surrounded by a blockade of massive warships. Ethan Cross, Voros said softly.
They were probably in
If you
mid-conversation,
persist
but I
in this
dragged them, it's
rebellion, the
okay.
Council will be forced to sanction your homeworld. Embargoes, orbital blockades, your family in the port
Still
city.
hissing? I don't know what
They
the hissing
rely on
is.
imported food. Do they not? Ethan felt a spike of cold terror.
That's how you know it's me.
Then
the image changed.
I
It
didn't
showed
open my
Salith,
present.
but she was sitting on a throne of crystal.
I didn't
She
open
was
my
wearing a
present for the
crown
day.
of light. And you, Salith, Voros said, we can restore you. The block can remove the black mark. We can give you your sector
Who's
back.
it?
All you have to do is denounce the human.
Gay.
Say that he forced the bond. Say he is a parasite. Walk away from him,
Hi, Widget.
and you will be queen again. Ethan looked
So
at
do you
the
guys
image of
also
the
hear the history, or
blockade.
is that just
He thought of his sister in Napoli. He thought of the hunger. Then he looked at Salith. She was staring at the throne. It was
No, it's
everything
hissed
she had
before on
lost,
my stream. Hi, Solid.
everything she was born to be.
Hissing. Hi, I'm good.
Ethan
I'm
turned to
good.
her.
Do you hear the
Salith,
widget? Do you
he
hear the
whispered.
Widget? Do you hear the hissing widget?
She didn't look at him. She was trembling.
Um,
Take it, Ethan said. His voice was shaking. I can't give you a throne. I'm a hauler. I have a rented apartment and a pile of debt. He stepped back,
big hissing,
creating a foot of space between them.
I don't know if anyone else
I
hears
can't
that
offer
hissing.
you a kingdom, he said.
I do not hear it.
I can only offer you the truth. And the truth is you don't belong in a cage, even if it's a nice one.
Fortnite. I'll start off with Fortnite.
Salith turned her
I
head
will be
slowly.
playing, PUBG,
She looked at the throne.
with the
Then she looked at
and
Ethan.
May as well.
She looked at his messy hair, his tired eyes, the way his hands were
Friend,
clenched at his
May
sides
and
to
friend,
stop from reaching
Chris
for her.
G, and I think
She
someone
felt
else
his
is gonna play with
resonance.
us.
It wasn't fear for himself.
She-
It was love,
exactly.
a crushing, selfless love that was willing to break its own heart to save her.
Turn off the light.
I am
don't
tired of
think-
thrones,
okay.
she said
Who else
softly.
hears the hissing?
She turned to Voros. I am
May, do you
tired
hear
of
it? You
being
don't hear it?
worshipped,
Okay.
she said, her voice rising. I am tired of being a symbol and a leveraging chip and a queen. She
I
reached
was
out
gonna
and
make
grabbed
fun of
Ethan's
it with
hand.
Death Coast.
She interlaced her fingers with his. I want to be a person, she declared. And this man
Is there more
this
gifts right
human.
here?
is the only one who has ever treated me like one.
Oh yeah, you can pick from different.
She
sides.
squeezed
Ooh,
Ethan's
okay,
hand.
Tomorrow,
I choose him.
I'm gonna open.
The silence in the theater was
I want this
absolute.
gold one.
Then, slowly, the
I don't
holographic
have the
audience
noise.
began
Okay,
to
so I guess he
react.
doesn't have the noise
Some looked
either.
horrified,
Okay, Death Coast, you gotta deal with it.
but many,
Sorry, brother.
millions of them looked fascinated. Because it wasn't politics anymore, it was raw, it was real.
Oh, you
Voros
gotta
snarled,
deal with it.
"This is treason! It is freedom!" Ethan shouted. Voros turned to
Am I
Vexlar,
planning?
who was
No,
still
I wanna
cowering
play Call
behind
of
them.
Duty. Actually, you know what? I might.
"Witness!"
Who cares? Who gives a
Voros
fuck?
barked at the Tellarian.
Who gives a
"Testify!
fuck?
Tell
I'm
the
not gonna
court that
buy
the
it.
human coerced her. You were in the cell." Ethan
Yeah.
looked at Vexlar.
Everyone's telling me not to.
"Tell
but,
them, Vexlar. Tell them we are
Okay,
partners."
let me turn off the light.
Vexlar adjusted his monocle. He looked at Ethan.
How about
He looked
now?
at Saleth. Then he looked at Voros. "The probability of a successful revolution is negligible," Vexlar said flatly. "The probability of amnesty is 100%.
Gone? Okay, so that means
He pointed
it's
a
because
finger
it's
at
hooked-
Ethan.
The light is hooked up to the back of the
The
PC.
human threatened to airlock me." Vexlar lied. "He drugged the Alari female.
Can I turn back
I
on?
saw him administer the neurostimulants. It was a kidnapping." Ethan felt like he had been punched in the gut.
That's bright as fuck.
"Vexlar, it is just math." "Ethan," Vexlar said quietly, stepping away from them toward Voros. "Pure logistics."
There's this.
Voros grinned triumphantly. "There you have it. The bond is a fraud. Seize them." The floor of the arena opened. Drones rose up, hundreds of them. "Containment protocols," Voros ordered. "Sedate the female. Terminate the male."
Well, let's hope.
Saleth looked at Ethan. There was no fear in her eyes
What
anymore,
did you say to do?
only a terrifying clarity. "Ethan," she said. "Yeah? Cover your ears."
What the fuck?
"What?" Saleth closed her
They're
eyes.
like,
She didn't try to
They're
calm the
lying.
bond. She didn't try to hide. She grabbed the connection between them, the raw, pulsing power of two nervous systems wired
Okay.
together.
are you guys ready?
And she
Oh my
pulled.
God.
Shut up, dude.
She didn't pull it toward her. She pushed it outward.
Why is there new shit every time?
She
I
turned
turn
their
this
shared
fucking game
consciousness
on,
into
bro?
a broadcast
This is why
signal.
Parents are broke because they're
Scream.
fucking kids.
It
Oh
wasn't
my
a
God.
sound. It was a psychic shockwave.
SpongeBob?
Saleth unleashed the full, unadulterated agony of the
That was
forced resonance.
stupid.
She broadcast the feeling of the cage, the violation, the rage. The feedback loop hit the station's sensors like a hammer.
Doodle Pop's cool, but
The holographic judges flickered and dissolved into static. The live feed screaming across the galaxy turned into a blinding white noise of pure
I don't
emotion.
want Kim Kardashian.
The drones froze, their logic circuits overwhelmed by the chaotic data. In the center of the arena, the lights exploded. "Run!"
I don't want.
Saleth shouted. She grabbed Ethan's hand, and they
I'm a
bolted.
hater. I'm a
Not
hater
toward the
towards
ship.
skin.
It was
I don't know
surrounded
why.
by
I like
frozen
Kim
drones,
Kardashian. I
but
just
toward the
don't want
maintenance airlock at the edge of the arena. Vexlar stood in their path,
I'm not
looking
spending money
confused
on
as his data
it.
pad sparked and died.
I have.
"Logistics!" Ethan yelled, lowering his
She
shoulder
already
and
has
slamming
a
into
lot
the
of money.
Tellarian.
She's not taking my
Vexlar
money.
went flying. Ethan didn't look back.
Kim Kardashian.
They hit the airlock. Ethan slammed the emergency cycle button. "Warning," the mechanical voice buzzed,
broke.
distorted by
Ethan
the
did take my
surge.
money.
"Exterior access. Vacuum imminent. Helmets!"
Praise the
Ethan
big-
yelled.
No,
They grabbed the
that's
emergency
stupid.
void suits hanging on the
Okay, I'm
rack.
ready.
They jammed the helmets on just as the outer door blew open.
Yeah, but
Silence slammed into them. They were outside. They were
besides,
standing on the maintenance ring of the arbitration
the
theater.
one I have right now.
Below
Yes, I
them,
am.
the station was a dark, jagged shape against the stars. Above them, the
There's not
universe
one that's
spun in a
really
slow,
like,
dizzying
gonna spend
circle.
$30
Ethan
on
activated
almost.
his magnetic boots. Clang. They locked onto the hull. Saleth locked
For me to get
hers.
her right now, it's
They stood there,
$22.99. That's
breathing
almost
heavy in their
$30. That is
suits,
not-
the calm static hissing in their
Dude,
ears.
That's almost $30.
"Ethan." Saleth's voice came over the bond, clearer than the
That's
radio.
almost $30.
"I'm here,"
I think
he
so.
answered. She turned to face him. Through the gold-tinted visor of her helmet, he could see her face. She looked terrified. "That surge. She sent. The scream. I didn't just project it, and I felt you fuel it."
I need a post.
"We
on my
did it
media.
together," Ethan said. "That is the problem," she replied. She reached out and touched his faceplate with her gloved hand. "Ethan, the bond is not just connecting us anymore, it is rewriting us." Ethan frowned. What do you mean? When I reached for the power and I didn't reach into my mind, she said. I reached into yours. I used your anger. I used your memories. She paused. We are neurologically synchronizing. My synapses are firing in your patterns, yours and mine. If we stay like this, if we don't break the resonance, we won't be two people anymore. We will be a hive mind of two.
I look so
Ethan
serious.
stared at her. The stars reflected in her visor seemed to swirl. And if they catch us now, Salith continued, the horror seeping into her thought voice. They won't just have a hostage. They will have a single biological key that can unlock any mind in the galaxy.
Yeah.
We are becoming a weapon. Ethan, a permanent one.
I honestly want to wear.
Ethan looked out at the dark void. The station below them was waking up. Lights were flickering back on. Drones were pouring out of the airlocks like angry hornets. Then we run, Ethan said. We run until we find a way to fix it, or until we burn out.
How we met?
He took her hand. Which way? Salith pointed to a cluster of debris floating in the distance, the wreckage of an old satellite
I'll
field.
get in trouble?
Into the noise, she said. They turned and began to run across the skin of the station, two tiny figures moving against the infinite dark, holding hands as their minds slowly, inevitably, began to melt into one. The vacuum of space was not silent. To Ethan Cross, it sounded like his own heartbeat, amplified by the claustrophobic acoustics of the void suit helmet and hammered into a frantic rhythm by the adrenaline flooding his veins. He scrambled over the jagged wreckage of the collapsed antenna lattice. It was a graveyard of communications tech, a twisted skeleton of steel beams and shattered dishes floating in the shadow of the arbitration theater.
Got hit.
Below his magnetic boots, the station rotated slowly, a black behemoth blotting out the star field. Above him, the universe sprawled in infinite, indifferent cold. Move, Ethan. Salith's voice echoed in his mind. It was clearer than the radio static, sharper than the visual feed projected on his visor.
I still don't
They
have
are
a
tracking the
gun.
thermal signature of your suit scrubbers.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Ethan vaulted over a broken solar panel, his boots clanging against the metal before the magnets caught hold. He glanced back. 3 pursuit drones were slicing through the dark like silver sharks. They did not use thrusters that Ethan could see. They moved with efficient predatory silence, their tracking lasers painting red lines across the debris field.
I'm coming.
A beam of coherent light lashed out, vaporizing a strut 3 feet to his left.
Why is she?
The silence of the impact was more terrifying than a thunderclap. I am moving, Ethan thought back, projecting the urgency. But this lattice is a maze. We are going to get pinned, not if we cheat, Salith sent. She was 10 meters ahead of him, a slender figure in a white emergency suit, moving with a fluid grace that zero gravity usually made impossible. She stopped at a wall of twisted hull plating that blocked their path. It was thick, reinforced titanium, a dead end. The drones were closing 500 meters, 400. Salith didn't look for a handhold. She placed her gloved palm flat against the solid metal. Ethan, grab my belt, she commanded. Ethan scrambled forward, his breath fogging the visor. He grabbed the tether loop at her waist. What are you doing? Resonance is not just emotion, she explained, her thought voice straining with effort. It is a frequency.
Outside the building.
Matter is just energy vibrating at a specific rate. If I can match the vibration of the bond to the vibration of the hull.
No. Okay.
She closed her eyes. Ethan felt the surge through the connection.
I'll leave one.
Not fear this time, but a focused, harmonic hum. It felt like standing next to a massive church bell just after it had been struck. The soundless noise vibrated in his marrow. The metal wall in front of them shimmered. For a second, it looked like oil on water. Then, it turned translucent. Jump, Salith ordered. Ethan didn't argue. He pushed off the gantry, propelling them both straight at the solid titanium wall. His brain screamed impact. His muscles tensed for the crash. They passed through the metal like it was smoke. A sensation of intense cold washed over him, followed by a taste of copper in his mouth. Then they were on the other side, floating in the open maintenance crawlway leading to the beacon array.
It's not open, so hello.
Behind them,
I guess.
the wall snapped back into solidity. A laser blast from the lead drone slammed into the other side of the wall a microsecond later, harmlessly scorching the barrier that had just saved them.
Fuck, why
Ethan
is it
drifted,
like this? Oh
grabbing
my
a
God.
stanchion to steady himself. He stared at the wall.
Why
That,
the fuck?
he thought, is impossible. That is alien magic. It is quantum tunneling induced by bioharmonic resonance, Salith corrected. Though Ethan could feel her exhaustion, it hit him like a wave of physical nausea.
Me?
And it is draining my
Open
electrolytes.
Twitch.
I hope you have a plan for the beacon, because I am going to pass out in approximately 12
Where is
minutes.
everyone at? We have Destiny
Just
over there.
keep
Should we go
breathing.
towards Destiny? She's
Ethan
kinda far.
sent, pulling her forward. I'll do the heavy lifting. Good, she retorted, a flicker of dry humor sparking through the bond. Try not to vomit in the suit. It is a closed ecosystem. They pulled themselves along the spine of the station, hand over hand, heading toward the blinking blue light at the summit of the array. This was the neural beacon, an independent automated transmitter designed to send navigational data to deep space freighters. It was old, dumb, and crucially unconnected to the harmonization block's filtered network. If they could reach it, they could scream the truth to the entire sector. They reached the control platform. It was a small, exposed grid of metal hanging over the abyss. The console was encased in a heavy housing of armor glass. Ethan clamped his boots to the deck. He opened the interface panel. Vexlar gave me the frequency codes, Ethan said, his voice loud in the helmet
I do
comms.
like these fucking...
We just need to punch them in and
Oh, wait,
upload
this
the
is
data
safe
from your
then.
scar.
Okay. Oh, wait.
Salith floated beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder. She looked at the console.
I thought it was a buzzball.
Ethan, she said, look at the lock.
There's a...
Ethan wiped the frost from his visor. He looked closely at the input port. It wasn't a keypad. It wasn't a data jack.
Yeah.
It was a biometric scanner, a needle pad designed to take a blood sample and read the genetic markers of a registered technician. Unauthorized access prohibited. The screen flashed in red. Genetic consensus required. It needs a DNA key. Ethan groaned. We don't have a technician's hand. We don't need a technician, Salith thought, her mind brushing against his with a terrifying clarity. Look at the requirements. It asks for genetic consensus. It is an old system designed to prevent single-agent sabotage. It requires 2 distinct biological signatures authorizing the transmission simultaneously. Ethan looked at the scanner. So we both put our hands in. It is not that simple. Salith sent. The fear was creeping back into her thoughts, cold and sharp. The scanner expects 2 separate people, but the bond... Ethan, we are blurring. If we interface with the machine while maintaining the resonance, the system might interpret us as a single, corrupted entity in lockdown. So we break the connection? Ethan asked. We cannot, she replied. The feedback loop is self-sustaining now. If we try to suppress it, we will pass out. The only way to trick the scanner is to push the synchronization to 100%. We have to make the machine believe we are a single authorized organism with dual genetic markers. Ethan stared at her. If we sink that deep, we might not be able to unsync. Salith finished. The neurological pathways will fuse. We will lose the boundaries of the self. I will not know where my memories end and yours begin. Ethan looked at the scanner. He looked at the stars. He thought about the blockade around Earth. He thought about the throne Salith had rejected.
Crazy.
He looked at her.
Doesn't feel like
Through the
Christmas.
gold visor, he saw her eyes. They were wide, dark, and filled with a terrifying acceptance. It's a trap, Ethan thought. Voros wants to turn us into a hive mind. If we do this, we are doing his work for him. No, Salith countered. Voros wants to own the hive mind. He wants to hold the leash. If we do this here, now, by choice, we are holding the leash ourselves. We are choosing the sacrifice. Ethan felt the truth of it. It wasn't about safety. It was about agency. Truth matters more than comfort, he thought. Truth matters more than self. She agreed. They drifted closer. They knelt on the grating, face to face. The console hummed between them. Helmets, Ethan said. We need to touch. It is dangerous, Salith warned. The suits have a contact seal, Ethan said. We can link the faceplates. They leaned forward. With a click of magnetic latches, their helmets locked together. The seals hissed, merging their air supplies into a single, small atmosphere. They were inches apart. Ethan could see the sweat on her brow, the dilation of her pupils. He could hear her breath, ragged and shallow, mixing with his own. Ready? He asked. No, she admitted. Do it anyway. They placed their hands on the needle pad. Ethan felt the sharp prick of the sampler.
Hello.
Open the gate, Salith whispered in his mind. They didn't close their eyes. They stared into each other. Ethan let the walls down. He stopped fighting the invasion of the bond. He stopped trying to be Ethan Cross, the hauler, the cynic, the man who held himself apart. He let the tide come in. It hit him like a collapsing star. He wasn't just feeling her emotions anymore, he was remembering them. He was 5 years old,
Someone's near me. I hear
standing
them.
in a hall of mirrors on the vain homeworld, wearing a dress made of spun glass that scratched his skin. He felt the crushing weight of expectation.
Don't buy me.
Stand
Buy
straight.
back to me.
Do not
Where are
smile.
you? Am I
You are
blind?
the state.
Oh, you're the. There.
He felt the silence of a childhood spent in rooms where no one was allowed to touch him. He felt the cold, beautiful isolation of being a masterpiece in a museum that no one visited. And Salith felt him. She felt the grease under his fingernails.
I'm running.
She felt the hunger of a week without credits. She felt the grief of watching his father's ship burn in the atmosphere. A streak of fire that took everything. She felt the armor he had built around his heart. The jokes, the deflection, the desperate need to be free because he had nothing else. The boundaries dissolved. There was no he or she. There was only us.
Oh, inside
The
the house.
desire that surged between them wasn't sexual, though it carried the heat of 1,000 suns, and it was existential.
Get over here, bitch.
It was the hunger of two lonely stars finally finding an orbit.
I'm taking him upstairs.
It was a terrifying, consuming need to never be silent again.
Bitch.
But in the center of the storm, they found an anchor.
I threw him over the balcony.
Consent.
I threw him over the balcony.
The word floated between them like a shield. This is me,
So many
Ethan's
footsteps.
thought voice
Are they above us?
whispered, defining the edge of his soul.
Okay.
I end here. This is me, Salith responded, drawing a line in the fire.
May, do
I
you
begin
have to-
here.
Oh, no.
They didn't merge. They harmonized.
Come here,
They
come
chose to be two notes in the same chord, distinct but inseparable. Ethan leaned forward. Salith leaned forward.
Okay.
They kissed. It wasn't a soft kiss, but it was fierce. It was a collision of teeth and breath and desperation.
So I thought, bitch.
It was a vow signed in fire. It was a declaration that even if the universe melted them down,
Yeah, bitch.
they would remember the shape of each other. The console beeped. Identity
what?
confirmed. Dual origin authorization accepted. Transmitting. The neural beacon flared to life. A pulse of pure encrypted data burst outward from the array. It wasn't just a radio signal, it was a scream of light. It carried the ledger from Salith's skin. It carried the footage of the forced resonance. It carried the logs of the bribes. the blueprints of the Kestrel Vault's illegal labs, and the private communications of the harmonization block. It hit the relay satellites.
Just a little bit.
It bounced to the trade lanes. It flooded the news feeds of 1,000 worlds.
Just life being life.
Below them, the arbitration theater went dark. Then, it lit up again, not with floodlights, but with the chaotic flashing of alarms. It is done. Salith breathed. Her voice was weak, but the bond was singing. Ethan pulled back, breaking the kiss but keeping their foreheads pressed together. He felt lightheaded. He felt like he had just run a marathon and won the lottery at the same time. We are still here, he thought. I am still Ethan. You are still Ethan. She agreed, a profound relief washing over her. But you are louder now. A flash of light cut through the darkness. Ethan turned his head. A shuttle had launched from the station's tactical bay. It was black, angular, and moving fast. A strike team. They are coming, Ethan said. Let them come, Salith replied. The signal is out. They cannot catch the light. The shuttle didn't hail them. It didn't offer surrender. It opened fire. Autocannons strafed the antenna array. The metal around them exploded into shrapnel. Ethan grabbed Salith. Move! They scrambled back toward the maintenance hatch. The zero-gravity run became a desperate scramble for cover. Debris rained around them. A drone appeared from behind a strut, one of the pursuit units that had tracked them earlier. It had been waiting. It leveled its laser cutter at Ethan. Ethan raised his arm, bracing for the burn, but he was too slow. Salith wasn't. She didn't push him out of the way. She pulled herself in front of him. She grabbed the drone's manipulator arm with her hand, channeling the resonance directly into its circuitry. Break! She screamed mentally. The drone exploded in a shower of sparks, but the laser had already fired. The beam sliced across Salith's side. It cut through the white armor of her suit, through the thermal lining, and into flesh. Her scream echoed in the bond, a sharp, white-hot spike of agony that brought Ethan to his knees. Salith. He grabbed her as she spun away, the suit venting atmosphere. He slapped a sealant patch over the tear in her side, the foam expanding instantly to plug the leak. I am intact, she gasped, though her mental voice was flickering like a dying bulb. You are hit, Ethan shouted. We need to get inside. No, she sent. Look. Ethan looked down. The shuttle was hovering over the platform, its side doors opening. Armored figures were jumping out, magnetic boots locking onto the hull, block commandos. But beyond them, in the distance, space was tearing open. Slipstream portals were opening. 1, 2, 10. Ships dropped out of warp. They weren't council cruisers. They weren't block warships. They were a motley collection of heavy destroyers, painted in the gray and blue of the Independent Systems Coalition. The cavalry? Ethan asked. The janitors, Salith corrected weakly. They are here to clean up the mess. The lead coalition ship hailed the area. This is Commander Halloway of the ISC Vigilance. We have received the data packet. All parties in this sector are ordered to power down weapons immediately. Kestrel Vault is now under the jurisdiction of the Interstellar Court. The block commandos didn't stop. They advanced across the hull, weapons raised. They knew that if they captured Salith now, they could still leverage her, dead or alive. She was the evidence. Ethan dragged Salith behind a slab of wreckage. Can you move? He asked. My leg is unresponsive, she admitted. The nerve damage. Ethan checked his oxygen. 10 minutes. I'm not leaving you, he said. Ethan, Salith said, listen to me. She reached up and grabbed his wrist. The bond flared again, but this time it felt different. It wasn't a conversation. It was a transfer. If they take me, she sent, they will wipe my mind. They will scrub the bond. They will turn me into a husk. They aren't taking you, Ethan snarled. Stop being a hero and
Cool,
listen,
fuck,
her
fuck,
mind
fuck,
shouted.
okay, it's fine.
I am giving you the key. She closed her eyes. Ethan felt a sudden, massive influx of data.
I'm gonna die.
It wasn't just
I'm gonna die, I'm
emotions,
gonna die,
it was
I'm gonna die, I'm gonna
memories.
die.
Specific, crystal clear memories. The face of the technician who branded her. The codes to her family's accounts. The secret routes through the vein sector.
Big gun.
The smell of her mother's perfume. The feeling of the kiss they had just shared. She was backing herself up. I am imprinting the core of who I am onto your neural pathways, she explained. If they take me, if they erase me,
No, it's fine. I'll just use it.
I will still exist. In you. You are the living archive now. Ethan felt tears pricking his eyes. I don't want a copy. Salith, I want you.
I'm coming to you.
Then fight, she whispered.
Oh, no, bitch.
The commandos crested the ridge of debris. Ethan grabbed a piece of loose pipe. It was a pathetic weapon against plasma rifles. He stood up.
Where you going?
He didn't have to swing it. A railgun round from the Vigilance slammed into the platform 10 meters ahead of the commandos.
I'm scared, Destiny. You
The
can't do that to
impact
me.
threw them back, shattering the hull plating. Stand down! The voice of Commander Holloway boomed over the general frequency. This is your final warning. We have target lock on all hostile biologicals. The commandos hesitated. They looked at the massive destroyer looming over the station, its cannons glowing with charge. They lowered their weapons.
She's dead,
Ethan
but
slumped
I'm
against the
saying, like,
wreckage,
she's-
pulling Salith into his lap.
Oh, yeah.
We won,
Fuck these
he
guys.
whispered.
Over here.
Salith looked up at him through her visor. Her face was pale, drawn with pain,
Of course.
but her eyes were
Where are you
bright.
going? Brother?
We survived, she corrected. Winning is complicated. The aftermath was not a parade. There were no medals. The Kestrel Vault scandal tore the Galactic Council apart. The harmonization block fractured overnight as members scrambled to distance themselves from the exposed corruption. Counselor Malik was arrested trying to board a shuttle to the Outer Rim. Attaché Voros vanished,
It's my boyfriend.
likely liquidated by his own
I gotta
furious
kill him.
superiors. But justice was messy. Ethan and Salith sat in the medical bay of the Vigilance.
Are we pushing? Are we pushing? Or what?
Salith was in a regeneration tank, the blue liquid glowing softly as it knit her side back together.
Actually, we need to get high ground. You guys have a
Ethan
jetpack?
sat in a chair next to the tank, his hand pressed against the glass.
Let's go. I mean, we
Commander Holloway stood at the foot of the tank.
we can
He
walk
looked
this way,
tired.
but-
He held a data pad. The Coalition has granted you temporary asylum, Holloway said. But let's be clear. You are a diplomatic nightmare. Half the council wants to give you a medal. The other half wants to dissect you to see how the bond works. We aren't staying, Ethan said. Holloway nodded. I figured. The Aegis 7 is fueled. We wiped the transponder. You are officially listed as casualties of the incident.
I don't really like snipers.
He
so
looked
I'll
at
take it.
Salith in the tank. She was awake, watching them. You know you can never go home, right? Holloway asked. You are a queen without a throne, and he is a convict without a record. You don't exist. Ethan
A little
looked at
behind, but
Salith.
I'm following.
She smiled, a small, tired, genuine smile. We exist, Ethan said. That's enough. The Aegis 7 drifted away from the fleet,
Keep going.
its engines running dark. They sat in the cockpit. The silence of space was no
Ain't
longer
way,
terrifying.
tree block. Dude,
It was a canvas.
fucking this game.
Salith sat in the co-pilot's seat. She moved stiffly, her side still healing, but she was out of the tank. She wore a simple flight suit, stripped of all royal insignias. She looked at Ethan.
We can
The
try to
bond
take
was
that house,
quiet
there might be a
now.
chance there's someone already
It was a
there.
low, steady hum in the back of their minds, a third lung breathing between them. What did we learn? Ethan Cross, she asked softly.
Oh yeah, someone's rebooting.
Ethan checked the sensors. Course set for the deep drift. No patrols.
There's a team already
I
over
learned that love without freedom is just control, he said. It's what Voros wanted. A contract. Salith nodded. She looked at her hands, hands that had held scepters and prison trays, and him. And I learned that power without tenderness is emptiness, she said. I had a kingdom, but I was hollow. She reached out and took his
Wait, can I
hand.
still use it when it's red like that?
So what is the third path? Ethan
Or I think
asked.
I can't drive it, huh?
We do not hide, she said.
What does this mean?
We do not rule.
Hello?
We
Oh, there's a
witness.
team here. I hear there's footsteps.
Ethan finished.
Oh, Becca.
We keep the truth alive. He squeezed her hand. They looked out at the viewport. The sky was filled with the debris of the battle, shattered satellites, pieces of propaganda screens spinning in the void. It was a mess. It was chaos. But beyond the wreckage, the stars were burning.
Is there a
Ethan
vehicle?
engaged the drive. Where to?
I'm tired
He
of
asked.
running.
Everywhere. Salith said. Ethan punched it. The stars stretched into lines of light, and they jumped into the dark, holding hands,
Oh, there's a team
bound by
right
the
ahead of
only
us
law in the
too,
galaxy
so-
that they fully trusted, the one they had written
Who
together.
the fuck is